Chapter 79. Demonic Arch. Qin Yun's heart stirred. He never expected such a cultivation technique to exist. He felt that this matter was definitely not that simple. Wei Xuanquan looked at the sky and said, "It's a full moon right now. It's the perfect time for me to cultivate with her. General Yuan, if this matter succeeds, you will have my father's support, and the Duke of Yan will also secretly help you. This will allow your strength and status to rise rapidly." All right. General Yuan thought for a moment before agreeing with a face full of joy. Qin Yun was not surprised. For the sake of his position, General Yuan could even do things that were ungrateful. It was not strange for him to betray his own daughter. After the discussion, General Yuan quickly returned to the camp to look for Yuan Yinying. Wei Xuanquan and Yin Yun walked behind him. When Qin Yun saw that he did not bring the Void Spirit Stone with him, he did not make a move to avoid alerting the enemy. "Brother Kun, after you finish harvesting Yuan Yinying, your cultivation will definitely increase greatly. If nothing unexpected happens, you will be able to cultivate the Heart Sutra. When the time comes, you can dual cultivate with me, and I will also be able to quickly improve." Yin Yun sneered. "That bitch, Yuan Yinying, after you finish harvesting her, she will become an old and ugly old woman." When Qin Yun heard this, he secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. This kind of plucking technique was a genuine demonic technique. Back then, the Duke of Yan had slandered Qin Yun as someone who cultivated demonic arts and said that he was an unpardonable evil cultivator. But at this moment, as the granddaughter and son-in-law of the Duke of Yan, they were cultivating a vicious demonic art. Qin Yun had completely seen through this group of hypocritical people. Each and every one of them spoke of benevolence and morality, but who knew how evil they were in secret? Late at night, the sky was filled with stars, and a cold full moon hung in the sky. Everyone in the camp was resting. Qin Yun snuck into the camp and carefully approached Wei Xuanquan's tent. General Yuan had already told Yuan Yinying that Yin Yun had something to talk to her about. He told her to go to Yin Yun and Wei Xuanquan's tent. In order to facilitate this matter, General Yuan called out the students in the other tents and told them to patrol the surrounding woods. After Yuan Yinying entered a large tent, she asked with a smile, "Sister Yin Yun, what's the matter?" The moment she entered, she saw Wei Xuanquan, who was bare-chested, with an evil smile on his face. Yin Yun was also by his side, her beautiful face filled with sinister and cold smiles. Yuan Yinying's heart skipped a beat as she realized that something was amiss. Just as she was about to leave, Yin Yun rushed over and pulled her to a bed. Wei Xuanquan laughed evilly as he pounced towards Yuan Yinying, who was on the bed. "Little bitch, you're mine tonight." Wei Xuanquan laughed sinisterly. Qin Yun secretly frowned as he listened from outside. He looked at the bright moon in the sky and then took out a ghost head saber. He gripped the saber hilt tightly and waited for an opportunity to attack. Let me go. What are you doing?" Father, save me." Yuan Yinying cried out in panic. She was only at the 4th level of the martial body realm, while Yin Yun was at the 5th level of the martial body realm. Wei Xuanquan was at the 6th level of the martial body realm. "Ha!" Wei Xuanquan laughed sinisterly. "Behave yourself and cooperate with Brother Kun." Yin Yun cursed as she slapped Yuan Yinying's jade-like face until it was red and swollen. Yuan Yinying was extremely uncooperative. She kept struggling and crying in despair. She could endure anything else, but she could not tolerate her father betraying her. "Bitch, which part of my Brother Kun isn't better than Qin Tianyi? What are you resisting for?" Yin Yun scolded angrily. "You bunch of heartless beasts. Even if I die, I won't let you taint me." Yuan Yinying's strong voice carried a sorrowful sob. In that instant, she seemed to understand many things. She suddenly recalled how Qin Yun, who had his spirit vein crippled by many old officials, was filled with despair and helplessness now. She finally felt the same way. Thinking back to how she had alienated Qin Yun, a wave of guilt welled up in her heart, making her even more heartbroken. At this moment, she no longer had anything to live for. Her only regret was that she did not apologize to Qin Yun. Yin Yun held down the crying and struggling Yuan Yinying. Just as she was about to tear off her clothes, she heard a tearing sound. It wasn't that her clothes were torn, but that a hole had been split open in the tent. A figure flew in. It was Qin Yun. When Yin Yun and Wei Xuanquan saw Qin Yun's face, it was already too late to resist. Qin Yun's ghost-head saber slashed at Wei Xuanquan's open chest like the wind. It was the wave breaker style of the six-style wind slayer, riding the wind and breaking through the waves. Swish! A gash appeared in Wei Xuanquan's chest as blood gushed out. He widened his eyes as he looked at Qin Yun. Endless resentment surged in his heart. He felt that death was right in front of him, and the person who sent him to his death was Qin Yun, who he hated to the bones. What infuriated Wei Xuanquan the most was that the panicking Yin Yun had abandoned him and fled the tent. Bang! Wei Xuanquan's eyes widened as he fell to the ground, dead in a pool of blood. Qin Yun glanced at Yuan Yinying, who was lying on the blanket, and sighed softly. Then, he rummaged through the tent and quickly found a bag. Not only were there void spirit stones, there were also a few transparent fruits. They were the colorless fruits needed to cure the poison in Ding Tianquan's body. He was now certain that the ones who had poisoned him were Master Wei and his son. Yuan Yinying had already put on her clothes. When she saw Wei Xuanquan lying in a pool of blood, she appeared very calm. When she looked at Qin Yun, her expression became extremely complicated. It was filled with guilt and gratitude. No need to thank me. I'm just trying to get back the Void Spirit Stone. Also, Wei Xuanquan is a villain who cultivates demonic arts. If he wants to use the technique of plucking on you, I'm just doing it for the heavens. With that said, Qin Yun walked out of the tent. The moment he walked out, he saw General Yuan and Yin Yun outside. Yin Yun pointed at Qin Yun and shouted, "It's him. He killed Brother Kuan." Yuan Yinying also walked out. When she saw General Yuan, she roared angrily, "Father, why did you do this? You actually cooperated with them to sully me. I'm doing it for your own good. Quickly leave. Let me kill Qin Yun." General Yuan said coldly. Then, he glared at Qin Yun and asked angrily, "How is young Master Wei?" "Dead," Qin Yun said indifferently. Yuan Yinying hurriedly ran in front of Qin Yun and shouted with tears streaming down her face, "If you want to kill, kill me." Qin Yun did not waste any words with them. He took the opportunity to use his movement technique to escape. However, General Yuan was not someone to be trifled with. He immediately chased after him and stopped him. "Father, let him go. He saved me." Yuan Yinying immediately wanted to go over, but was caught by the vicious Yin Yun. Yuan Yinying gritted her teeth and madly attacked Yin Yun. However, she was blocked by the inner force released by Yin Yun. Yin Yun said coldly, "General Yuan, Brother Kuan is already dead. If you don't kill Qin Yun today, Master Wei will definitely not rest until you die." Wei Xuanquan was dead, but Yin Yun was surprisingly calm. Chapter 80. Blue Star Palace. Qin Yun, prepare to die. Only by handing your corpse to Master Wei will he be able to quell his anger. General Yuan brandished the broadsword in his hand and was about to chop down when a gust of wind suddenly blew, accompanied by the aura of a powerful demonic beast. Roar! A tiger-shaped beast pounced over and sent General Yuan flying. It was the Steel Tiger. It was the Class 8 Steel Qilin Tiger that Qin Yun and Ding Tianquan had encountered. Such a powerful demonic beast was not something General Yuan could deal with. When Yin Yun saw the Steel Tiger appear, she was also shocked. She hurriedly let go of Yuan Yinying and turned to run. However, who would have thought that Yuan Yinying would quickly pick up the long saber on the ground and chase after her at an extremely fast speed? A large gash appeared on Yin Yun's back. She slowly turned around and looked at the ice-cold Yuan Yinying in fear. She had never thought that a weak woman like Yuan Yinying would actually kill someone, and even kill her. This was because in the Hua Ling Wu Academy, she had always bullied Yuan Yinying and treated her like a servant. But now, she had been severely injured by her blade. When Qinyan saw this, he was not surprised at all. After experiencing what had just happened, Yuan Yinying had completely grown up. Swish! Yuan Yinying brandished her saber again and slashed at Yin Yun's neck, killing her completely. Her gloomy and terrifying expression made Qin Yun think of Xiao Yuelon. The steel tiger had already bitten General Yuan to death, but did not eat him. When Yuan Yinying saw her father die, she suddenly collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face. She cried loudly and shouted at Qin Yun, "Leave quickly, I'll hold back the demonic beast." After saying that, she hurriedly stood up, gripped her broadsword tightly, and stood in front of the steel tiger. Qin Yun looked at the steel tiger's eyes and saw that it had no intention of attacking. He also felt relieved. Back then, when the steel tiger was injured, it was him who applied the medicine. Now that it did not attack him, it should be repaying his kindness. He sighed and said to Yuan Yinying, "This tiger is intelligent and won't attack you. Take care of yourself." Just as Yuan Yinying was about to say something, she saw Qin Yun leave the camp with the flaming cloud steps. She could only feel gratitude in her heart. Thinking back to how she had let Qin Yun down, she could not help but wail. The students who had been sent away had also returned from the forest. As soon as they returned, the steel tiger let out a loud roar. That aura scared them so much that their bodies trembled. It's a Class 8 steel Qilin tiger. Even General Yuan is dead. We'll die if we go over. Everyone run. A student screamed and turned around to run. They also saw Yuan Yinying sitting on the ground and crying loudly. They thought that she was crying. More than 10 people ran far away in an instant. Qin Yun hid in a large tree and watched Yuan Yinying and the steel tiger from afar. She took out a fire talisman and burned all the corpses to the corpses. She seemed to be able to communicate with the steel tiger. She walked over and caressed the tiger's head before carefully riding on its back. The 7-lin steel tiger, to the two. Qin Yun was slightly surprised as he sighed inwardly. He took out the void spirit stone that he had just snatched back and muttered, "There's one more that the third prince of the kingdom of Tianqi has snatched away. He to of he to. He to the say. He to him to the Ming to of Hua of Yang of Tian." At dawn, he finally saw Yang Shiryu. Her black clothes were slightly wrinkled. Seeing that Qin Yun is fine, she heaved a long sigh of relief and said, "It's good that you are fine." When she saw that Qin Yun was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "It's good that you're fine. Teacher, I took back a void spirit stone from Wei Xuanquan." Qin Yun chuckled as he took out the void spirit stone. Yang Shiryu was slightly taken aback. She remembered that there were quite a few strong people with Wei Xuanquan, including General Yuan. Yet, Qin Yun was actually able to snatch back the void spirit stone. She asked in surprise, "How did you get it? This is too dangerous." Qin Yun explained the entire process. "Fortunately, no one knows that you killed Wei Xuanquan and Yin Yun is dead. I'm more worried that Yuan Yinying will say it out loud. I hope she won't be ungrateful again." After Yang Shiryu learned of what had happened, she sighed. Qin Yun said with a smile, "I've also obtained the colorless fruit that helped teacher Ding cure the poison. I can't help but admire his feelings for demonic beasts. If he hadn't told me to let go of the steel tiger, I wouldn't be standing here right now." Yang Shiryu nodded with a smile. "And you must learn more from him in the future. In the Hua Ling Wu Academy, there aren't many good teachers like him. Let's go over that mountain and take a look at the Fallen Star Palace." Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu did not rest for the entire night. They rushed to the mountain and began climbing it. Our luck is pretty good. We were able to encounter 3 types of stones. On the way, Qin Yun took out the heavy spirit jade and caressed it lovingly. "Third Prince Tianqi, right? As long as this fellow isn't dead, I will definitely make him return our void spirit stone. If not, I will take his life." When Yang Shiryu thought of this matter, she became angry. This was the first time she had been robbed. When they arrived at the top of the mountain, Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu were stunned by the scene in the distance. The stars fell violently, but the Star Palace was perfectly preserved. From the top of the mountain, one could see a large expanse of flat land in front of them. There were large palaces and pavilions built from blue jade and blue bricks. This was more imposing than any palace. Under the illumination of the 9 suns, the blue jade seemed to be blooming with a blue radiance, giving off a luxurious and spectacular aura. One of the giant 9-story pagoda was the most eye-catching. Every floor of this tower was very tall and large. Although it only had 9 floors, it was over 100 meters tall. Its entire body was made of blue jade, and it shone with a blue light. It was grand and imposing. "They're all at the entrance," Qin said. "The dean and the others should be here too." At this moment, many people had climbed over the mountain. When they saw the Star Palace, they all flew down. "Let's go take a look as well," Yang Shiryu said. The 2 of them quickly descended the mountain and headed for the entrance of the Star Palace. In front of the entrance of the Star Palace, experts from all over were gathered. Among them were Master Wei, the Duke of Yin, and the others. Qin Yun also saw Duan Xian. Some of the teachers from the 3 black-level martial academies had come. Lu Ning, who had lost the giant King Spirit Hammer, was also present. There were more than 100 people present, including dozens of students. Qin Yun suddenly saw a person walking over from afar. It was the 3rd prince of the Tianqi Empire, Qi, who had snatched the Void Spirit Stone. Qi was carrying a bag on his back. Inside was the Void Spirit Stone that he had snatched. When he saw Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu, he shouted in panic, "Quickly protect me." Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu were very eye-catching, so everyone looked over at them. Just as Qi shouted, Yang Shiryu had already flown over. Without saying a word, she struck out with her palm, causing Qi to fall to the ground and vomit blood. His entire body was covered in wounds, and it was obvious that he was severely injured. Everyone's mouths gaped open, speechless. Yang Shiryu did not give Qi any chance to beg for mercy and immediately used force. An old official of the Tianqi Empire immediately roared, "Yang Shiryu, are you crazy?" Before he could finish, he was stopped by Yang Shiryu. "We discovered the Void Spirit Stone first, but it was snatched away by Qi and Master Wei. The other piece is in Wei Xuanquan's hands, and their whereabouts are unknown." As she spoke, Yang Shiryu took out the Void Spirit Stone from Qi bag. Her entire body was brimming with killing intent, causing the people of the Tianqi Empire to not dare to approach. Snatching a large piece of the Void Spirit Stone was naturally in the wrong. Master Wei was also involved. Everyone immediately looked at him. Chapter 81. Lan Shao, Martial King. Just as the people from the Tianqi Empire were about to go berserk, more than 10 students from the Hualing Wu Academy rushed down the mountain in panic. One of the students shouted, "Master Wei, this is bad. Young Master Wei has been killed by a demon beast, and the Void Spirit Stone has been taken away by a demon beast." At this point, the student realized that something was wrong. Master Wei's expression was very interesting, especially when he heard that his son had died. He was filled with disbelief, and when the student told him about the Void Spirit Stone, he became flustered and exasperated. Everyone was in an uproar. Just now, Master Wei had said that he had never seen a Void Spirit Stone before, but the student in front of him was talking about the Void Spirit Stone and Wei Xuanquan. Yang Shiryu sneered. "You reap what you sow. How precious is the Void Spirit Stone? It contains extremely strong spiritual energy, so it can attract very strong demon beasts. Since Wei Xuanquan is dead, then General Yuan and the others who followed him will definitely not be able to escape. For these dozen or so students to be able to come here alive, it can be said that they are very lucky." "Where's Yin?" The Duke of Yin walked over and asked loudly with an ugly expression. "Dead. They're all dead. We were called by General Yuan to patrol the forest, so we weren't attacked by that huge tiger. When we arrived, only Yuan, Yinying, was still alive. She was sitting on the ground crying, so she should be dead now." The student's face was filled with fear. Master Wei and Duke Yin were instantly filled with grief. Yang Shiryu, on the other hand, sneered gloatingly and said to Master Wei, "If you didn't want to snatch the Void Spirit Stone and send me away to fight with me, they wouldn't have been killed by the demon beasts." This is retribution. Shut up. Master Wei shouted angrily. Although he lost a void spirit stone, with so many people dying because of it, my heart is much more balanced. Yang Shiryu laughed out loud, not afraid of Master Wei at all. Master Wei and the Duke of Yin were so angry that their eyes were spitting fire, but they didn't dare to say anything because even if they joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Yang Shiryu. Moreover, Director Zhang was also here. Master Wei looked like a gentleman on the surface, but everyone knew what kind of person he was. There were many people present who had suffered at the hands of Master Wei. After they learned of Wei Xuanquan's death, they saw it in their eyes and felt great in their hearts. It was impossible for Master Wei and the Duke of Yin to not know that Wei Xuanquan and Yin Yun cultivated demonic arts. Qin Yun did not have any evidence, nor did he say it here. The two old foxes would definitely refuse to admit it. Everyone gathered in front of the gate of the Blue Star Palace and fell into silence. The fact that the Star Palace could be preserved so well meant that there might be people inside. Sure enough, the blue jade door slowly opened and a group of people walked out. They all wore blue brocade robes with patterns on them. The middle-aged man in the lead wore a darker blue robe. Behind a middle-aged man, there were more than 10 youths. Their blue robes, however, were much dimmer. The middle-aged man's cultivation was not very high. He was only at the 7th level martial body realm. However, when he swept his gaze over the crowd, his eyes were filled with disdain. He was incomparably arrogant, as if he looked down on everyone here. However, when he saw Yang Shiryu, his eyes revealed a strange light. Our Blue Spirit Star Palace has descended this time because we were ordered by the Martial King Lan Shao to pass on the Tao of Martial Arts. The blue-robed, middle-aged man dragged out his voice with a proud expression. He looked at the crowd and said, Martial King Lan Shao was born at the edge of the 9 desolate lands. He taught himself martial arts, and after entering the martial desolate land, he sent people here to inherit his martial arts and built several martial academies. When Qin Yin heard that, he was secretly excited. He never expected the legend to be true. In the ancient legends, the boundless land illuminated by the 9 suns was divided into 9 desolate lands. The martial desolate land had the most humans. The martial way was prosperous, and the 9 suns were rich in spiritual energy. It could produce many rare medicinal herbs and all kinds of heavenly and earthly treasures. The area they were currently in was at the edge of the 9 desolate lands. It was a place with the thinnest spiritual energy and a lack of resources. This also made it difficult for martial artists to step into the martial Dao realm. Principal Zhang of the Hualing Wu Academy took out a jade token and walked over. He said, I am a vice principal of the Hualing Wu Academy. The vice principals of the other martial arts academies all took out their jade tokens and walked up. Even the principal did not come. They seemed to be very mysterious. Anyone who can reach the 7th level of the martial body realm can come to the Blue Spirit Star Palace to cultivate, regardless of age. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he looked at the young students and said, As long as you are a student of the Martial Arts Academy, being able to witness the descent of the Star Palace is your opportunity. Therefore, our Blue Spirit Star Palace will give you a low-grade, profound rank cultivation technique. The moment he made his move, he gave out a low-grade, profound rank cultivation technique. This made all the students go wild with joy. The blue-robed, middle-aged man waved his hand and had the youths beside him take out books from their bags and distribute them to the 50 or so students from the Martial Arts Academy. These students all came from a spirit-level martial arts academy, like the Hualing Wu Academy. The highest cultivation level was only at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Qin Yun and the group of students walked over and stretched their necks to take a look. They realized that many of the books were the same. They were very new and looked like they had just been printed. Martial King Lan Shao was born at the edge of the 9 desolate lands, so he had a lot of feelings for this area. He had been developing the martial arts here for many years. Otherwise, the people here would be very backward on the path of martial arts. This time, the scale of imparting martial arts was even larger. He had directly created a star palace, but everyone felt that it was not that simple. There must be another purpose. When those used distributed the cultivation techniques, they would ask about the spirit vein and martial spirit. Depending on the situation, they would give out different cultivation techniques. These Blue Spirit Star Palace disciples all had proud expressions on their faces. They seemed to look down on the students of the Martial Arts Academy, even though their cultivation levels were not that high. "What spirit vein do you have?" a young man asked Qingyun with an extremely arrogant tone. "One spirit vein," Qingyun said. When a young man heard this, he could not help but be taken aback. Then he laughed out loud. The other blue-robed youths also laughed out loud. Qingyun frowned. He knew that these people looked down on a single spirit vein, so he turned around and left. He did not want these cultivation techniques anymore. "You only have one spirit vein, and you want to learn the martial arts of our Blue Spirit Star Palace?" Wishful thinking. "However, since you're able to come here, I will still give you the cultivation technique. Next, this is the supreme mental cultivation technique that I have bestowed upon you." The young man laughed mockingly as he took out 2 pieces of yellow paper. He crumpled them into a ball and threw them at Qingyun's head. Qingyun suddenly turned around and caught the ball of paper. A trace of anger appeared between his brows as he said, "For Blue Spirit Star Palace to have disciples like you, it can be seen that their overall martial arts level is only so." When Master Wei and the others saw this scene, they were secretly delighted. Qingyun was a thorn in their side. At this moment, they were gloating over his misfortune when they went up against a colossus like Blue Spirit Star Palace. Duan Qian and Principal Zhang hurriedly walked over to stop the conflict. Du Yayuan's face was immediately filled with anger as he shouted, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you make fun of our Blue Spirit Star Palace?" After saying that, he spat on Qingyun's clothes. Qingyun frowned and said with a sneer, "I've finally seen the quality of the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace." Chapter 82. Star Palace Disciple Yang Shiyu only watched from the side. There was no need for her to interfere in such matters. Furthermore, she wanted to see how Qingyun would teach the annoying Du Yayuan a lesson. Du Yayuan never expected that this person in front of him, who only had one bloodline, would dare to mock him. Due to the fact that there were many powerful martial artists here, it was not convenient for him to make a move. After all, he did not know who was backing Qingyun. He could only sneer mockingly. "A guy like you should be spurned by the people of the same bloodline. You think that you have painstakingly cultivated to the 5th level of the martial body realm, but you do not know that your foundation is weak. In the group training, you will definitely be a burden and harm others. I hate people like you the most. You should have obediently accepted your fate, but you feel that you are extraordinary. What, you're not convinced? I'll give you 10 years. 10 years later, you can challenge me. If I lose to you, I'm willing to be your slave, ha ha ha." Qingyun let out a soft sigh and said, "There's no need for 10 years. Let's do it now." Duan Qian hurriedly walked over and said in a low voice, "Qingyun, they are disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Their strength is unfathomable." Duyan said with a smile, "Young man, listen to the advice of your elders. I can wait 10 years for you." Qingyun shook his head and said, 10 years is too late. A person with a cheap mouth like yours can only live for 2 years at most. I'm afraid I won't be able to wait until that day. Let's do it now. I can't wait to smash your stinky mouth." The disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace burst into laughter. In their eyes, Qingyun, who was from the same bloodline, could not even withstand a single blow. He actually dared to say such arrogant words. Everyone was secretly looking forward to the match between Qingyun and Du Yayuan. Under normal circumstances, everyone felt that Qingyun would definitely win. But now, he was facing a disciple of Blue Spirit Star Palace. He had obtained the orthodox martial arts inheritance of the Lan Shao martial king, so his talent was definitely not ordinary. He could even match a 7th-level martial body cultivator, so it was hard to say who would win. The middle-aged man from Blue Spirit Star Palace chuckled and said, "Young people are all like this. They are young and full of vigor. Let them compete." This way, you can also see the strength of our blue spirit star palace. Then don't blame me for being impolite. Du Yun sneered proudly as he charged at Qin Yun. Both of his arms overflowed with a burst of golden mist, condensing into two golden blades. With one look, it was obvious that he possessed the golden blade martial spirit. This was not a weak martial spirit. Furthermore, its inner force was thick and domineering, causing many elders at the 7th or 8th level of the martial body realm to secretly exclaim in admiration. Du Yun came over and chopped down with his blade-like palms. In the blink of an eye, he had completed the chopping action. His speed was so fast that it made one shudder in fear. This was only at the 6th level of the martial body realm. What was astonishing was that Qin Yun's speed was not slow either. Furthermore, he had also used his hand as a saber to block Du Yun's two sharp saber slashes. Even Master Wei and the Duke of Yin were amazed by such a swift and powerful counterattack. Du Yun had not expected that the person in front of him, who only had one bloodline, would have such incredible martial techniques, able to block his confident strike. Without waiting for Du Yun to strike a second time, Qin Yun's palm blade had already chopped down. His internal energy surged out, breaking through the waves and slashing the wind. With a schwa sound, he chopped down, causing saber chi to fly everywhere. Voila! Du Yun's blue robe was torn apart by Qin Yun's wind slasher saber chi. A long bloody gash was left on his chest. He had actually been struck. Boom! In the instant that Du Yun was alarmed, Qin Yun struck out with his flame-light fist. When the flame-light fist landed on Du Yun's mouth, a burst of flames burst out, shattering his teeth and causing him to spit out blood. A large portion of his face was burned. Everyone could not help but be shocked. From beginning to end, Qin Yun had only used one hand to injure a disciple of Blue Spirit Star Palace. From this, it could be seen that his strength had improved by a lot. The blue-robed middle-aged man was also surprised. Previously, he had looked down on the martial artists at the edge of the 9 desolate lands and thought that they were only SOSO. But now his own disciple had been defeated. How dare you? It's just a simple spar, yet you're actually so ruthless. In order to regain his face, the blue-robed middle-aged man flew towards Qin Yun and threw a punch. No one had expected that as an elder, he would attack a junior like this. Qin Yun felt a powerful pressure coming at him. In his anxiety, he punched out. His fist instantly turned into a red-hot iron fist. A burst of light shot out like an arrow towards the blue-robed middle-aged man. It's the great perfection stage of the flaming light fist. The fist weighs 1,000 pounds, and the light it emits is like an arrow. Principal Zhang exclaimed. Qin Yun had only been in contact with the flaming light fist for a short while, but he had already learned it to the great perfection stage. The others were also shocked. Although the flaming light fist was only a high-grade martial skill, it was not easy to cultivate it to the great perfection stage. Qin Yun's fiery red iron fist was extremely terrifying. When it charged forward, the blue-robed middle-aged man's face was filled with surprise. Boom! The two fists collided, producing a loud sound as a wave of air surged. The sleeves on Qin Yun and the blue-robed middle-aged man's arms were instantly torn to shreds. Their arms were lacerated. The blue-robed middle-aged man's arm was the most severely injured. One could even see the exposed bones. This scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck, especially when Qin Yun's arm was split open. Traces of golden light appeared. It was especially shocking. Someone exclaimed, "That's the black-yellow meridian." The profound heart grass allowed him to cultivate the black-yellow heart sutra and forge the black-yellow meridian. This was also the reason why the profound heart grass was so precious. It was because it could allow people to cultivate the black-yellow heart sutra. Even if the muscles were severely injured, the meridians in the body would not be broken. Although the muscles on Qin Yun's arm were severely injured, his meridians were not broken. He could still circulate his inner force and quickly heal his injuries. At the same time, he could suppress the pain and stop the bleeding. It was extremely strange. Yang Shiryu came to Qin Yun's side and glared angrily at the blue-robed middle-aged man. She shouted coldly, "Do you believe it I won't kill you right now?" Du Yun sat paralyzed on the ground, his face filled with fear. The bloodline that he looked down on was actually so terrifying. "Everyone, let's discuss this properly. Why make things difficult for these outer sect disciples? They are only responsible for welcoming you." An elegant white-robed old man flew out from the door. His face was full of smiles, and he looked very kind and amiable. When the old man came out, Principal Zhang and Yang Shiryu frowned. It could be seen that this elegant old man was very strong. "I'm the third elder of Blue Spirit Star Palace's Eastern Palace, Shui Yihui." He cupped his hands at everyone in a very polite manner. Then he looked at Du Yuan and company and said, "They are from the Western Palace. Because they're the closest to the gate, they were the first to come out. So it's just a bunch of watchdogs. No wonder they look down on us." Yang Shiryu sneered. Her words made those people's faces filled with anger. Shui Yihui looked at Qin Yun and said with a smile, "Young friend, your strength is not ordinary and your martial skills are also very impressive. Come, this is what you deserve." He took a booklet from the blue-robed youth and was about to give it to Qin Yun. "No need. They have already given me the martial arts of Blue Spirit Star Palace." Qin Yun raised the ball of paper in his hand and opened it. There were a total of 2 pieces, and each piece had an obscure incantation written on it. Shui Yihui shook his head and said with a smile, "That was the boring work of Patriarch Lan Shao. It was used to tease us." He even said that he was the one who created the most powerful martial arts. We took it seriously for thousands of years before we realized that we were being played. Qin Yun kept the paper ball and looked at Yang Shiryu. "Teacher, let's go back first. There are still important matters to attend to." Chapter 83. Final examination. The others were invited into Blue Spirit Star Palace to discuss the inheritance of martial arts. As for this matter, Qin Yun felt that it was not that simple. There was definitely an exchange of benefits. Principal Zhang followed Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu back to the Hua Lingwu Academy. On the way back, Qin Yun suddenly said, "Dean, I found the colorless fruit. I found it on Wei Xuanquan." When President Zhang heard this, he stopped abruptly. Ding Tianchun was a loyal and honest person. He treated others very well and was very responsible. Now, he and his son had been poisoned and almost died. President Zhang asked in a deep voice, "What happened to you and Teacher Ding during the last experiential learning?" The reason for his injury is definitely not that simple. He and I encountered a quick shadow ape. It was a demonic beast with a master. Later, it was killed by Mr. Ding. Qin Yun said with a sigh. Teacher Ding said that this matter is not simple, so he didn't let me speak carelessly. He also gave me the quick shadow ape. Is there a beast taming collar? Principal Zhang's expression became cold. He had already thought of many things. Qin Yun took out the beast governing collar and handed it over. President Zhang took a look and said angrily, "It's really that old thief, Master Wei. Let's go back and cure Mr. Ding first." Yang Shiryu revealed a worried expression and asked, "Dean, you came here. Is there anyone to take care of the father and son?" Principal Zhang said, "Of course there is. The strongest people in our Hua Lingwu Academy are watching them. Don't worry." The strongest person in the Hua Lingwu Academy was naturally the principal who rarely appeared. It was said that he had been cultivating in seclusion. Now that he had finally come out, it was very likely because of the appearance of Blue Spirit Star Palace. The antidote would take some time. After Qin Yun handed the colorless fruit to President Zhang, he returned to the bamboo forest with Yang Shiryu. You still have a purple gold soul flying stone in your hand. Although you can't use it now, don't sell it. Yang Shiryu warned Qin Yun seriously. Also, don't tell anyone that we obtained the soul soaring stone. There must have been a problem with the arrival of the Blue Spirit Star Palace this time, which caused such a precious thing to fly out. I'm guessing that there was a fight inside. In short, the arrival of the Blue Spirit Star Palace will have a huge impact on the situation here. After saying these words, she hurriedly entered the room to cultivate. Qin Yin also hurriedly returned to his room and took out the paper ball that Dia Yuan had thrown at him. Although the paper balls were wrinkled, it could be seen that the two pieces of paper were very old. There were two incantations written inside, both of which were very strange. He could recognize every single word, but after connecting them together, he couldn't understand them at all. He couldn't figure out the meaning of each word. Shui Yihui said that this is a martial art created by the Lan Shao martial king to tease them. It has been passed down for thousands of years. Is it really just to tease them? Qin Yin repeated the two chants as he frowned. I don't understand it at all. Underworld star, yang observation, firm heart, mind concentration star. What the hell are these? He read the first line and thought about it, but he couldn't understand it at all. He could only tell that it was related to the stars and the sun. Forget it, I'm going to cultivate. Qin Yin had cultivated the Heart Sutra. Among the three great scriptures, he was still lacking the soul scripture. He needed to cultivate all of them before he could break through to the 6th level of the martial body realm. To condense the soul scripture, one needed to use their mental power to condense it, which consumed a lot of mental power. Fortunately, he had the 9 yang divine spirit. He could absorb the 9 yang spiritual energy to refine it and quickly recover his mental strength. After 2 days, he only felt that his mental strength had increased a little. He was still a long way from condensing the soul scripture. The higher you go, the more difficult it is to improve. No wonder a young man who has stepped into the 6th level of the martial body realm would be valued. That's because it's not easy to begin with. Qin Yin sighed. For example, Ding Tianshan, as a teacher, was only at the 7th level martial body realm. Many martial artists were middle-aged and old, but they were only at the 7th level. Therefore, cultivating martial arts required a very high level of talent. For example, Yang Shiyu was now at the 9th level martial body realm. Xiao Yuelon was already at the 8th level, and Qin Zhengfeng had also stepped into the 7th level. Their futures could be seen. Don't be impatient. It's easy to go berserk. Qin Yin took a few deep breaths before leaving the room to relax. This was also something that Yang Shiyu had often warned him about. Yang Shiyu was dancing with her sword in the courtyard. She was wearing a blue dress. Her legs were slender and her waist was slender. Her long dress fluttered in the wind. Her figure was extremely moving and pleasing to the eye. This was the first time Qin Yin saw Yang Shiyu sword dance. He was filled with admiration as he watched from the side with a smile. He said with a smile, "Teacher, your swordsmanship is very agile. It looks like you're in a good mood." Yang Shiyu stopped and sat down at a stone table. She said with a charming smile, "Of course." After obtaining the purple gold flying soul stone, her platinum moon martial spirit had successfully leveled up to a purple gold moon martial spirit. How could he be in a bad mood after his strength had increased by a large margin? "Teacher, can you understand these chants?" Qin Yin took out the 2 crumpled pieces of paper. Yang Shiyu looked at it and shook her head. "I don't understand. Are you serious? These chants are obviously not serious cultivation technique chants. They must have been played by Martial King Lan Shao back then." Qin Yin curled his lips. "I just wanted to give it a try. All right, Teacher Ding and his child have recovered, right? They're better. They left the Hua Ling Wu Academy and will never be teachers again. This is also to protect the child." Yang Shiyu sighed. "It's a pity that you can't see him again." She had come out of seclusion yesterday. Many things had happened in the past 2 days. Qin Yin did not know about it and was listening to her attentively. The Blue Spirit Star Palace had reached an agreement with many martial academies, aristocratic families, and empires. As long as one was at the 7th level martial body realm or above, they could enter the Blue Spirit Star Palace to study and cultivate. The Blue Spirit Star Palace was also recruiting outstanding young warriors. It was said that Xiao Yuelon and Qin Zhengfeng had already been invited. Yang Shiyu's expression was somewhat solemn. Jiang Lang had a legendary martial spirit and was chosen by the Blue Spirit Star Palace. He was invited to the Blue Spirit Star Palace yesterday. The people from the Blue Spirit Star Palace said that they would guide him for a period of time so that he could build a solid foundation. When he reaches the 7th level of the martial body realm, he will go to the Blue Spirit Star Palace to become an official disciple. Qin felt that there was nothing to worry about. He said with a smile, "I'm not worried about him. Isn't it just a legendary martial spirit?" His vibration martial spirit was also a legendary martial spirit, and it was also a mysterious black rank. Yang Shiryu said, "The problem is, in another month, it will be the final exam for this semester. With the ability of the Blue Spirit Star Palace, Jianglang will definitely advance by leaps and bounds within a month. At that time, he will be your formidable opponent." Only then did Qin Yun remember that he had been in the Hualing Wu Academy for almost half a year. The semester was about to end. At that time, Yang Shiryu would have to leave him. Chapter 84. Drumming to measure force. Yang Shiryu's words also meant that she would enter the Blue Spirit Star Palace in the future. With her talent, she could easily become a disciple of the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun did not have a good impression of the Blue Spirit Star Palace. It was mainly because he had met a disciple like Du Yayuan. "Teacher, I will definitely strive for the best results in the final exam and obtain resources." Qin Yun was very confident. If you can perform well, it is said that you can receive personal guidance from the principal and even obtain a martial arts cultivation technique. Yang Shiryu was also confident in Qin Yun. Among this batch of freshmen, he was the strongest. Qin Yun suddenly recalled something that Yang Shiryu had mentioned before. He asked, "Teacher, you previously said that the people from Blue Spirit Star Palace will be stationed in the various martial academies." Yang Shiryu nodded. "The Blue Spirit Star Palace has given the various martial academies many martial arts techniques and resources, so the various martial academies have agreed to stay. If nothing unexpected happens, next semester, there will be people from the Blue Spirit Star Palace holding important positions in the various martial academies. You don't have to worry. The principal told me before that the Blue Spirit Star Palace is divided into 4 palaces. The 4 palaces are at odds with each other and fight openly and secretly. When they descended, they fought once, causing some of the precious items to fly out. The heavy spirit jade, flying spirit stone, and void spirit stone that they had obtained had flown out during the battle. Qin Yun thought of the final exam in a month and immediately went into seclusion to cultivate. He wanted to condense the soul scripture and study the martial skills he had mastered. If his martial skills improved, his strength would also increase by a lot. The reason why he was able to gain the upper hand in many martial art competitions was because he had a good grasp of martial arts. Although other people's martial skills were of a high level, they were at most at the entry or small success stage. They were unable to unleash the power of their inner force. His martial skills were not of a high level, but he could grasp them to the large success stage or even the great perfection stage. He could dig out the hidden power of his inner force and unleash a very strong power. In the Hualing Wu Academy, many students were preparing for the final exam. If they were unable to pass the exam, they would have to leave the Hualing Wu Academy. One had to know that many students had consumed a large amount of their family's resources in order to enter the Hualing Wu Academy. If they were expelled by the Hualing Wu Academy, they would definitely be spurned by the family behind them. A month passed by very quickly. Especially for those who cultivated all day, they were completely unaware of the passage of time. Over the past month, Qin Yun has cultivated the Qi explosion technique to perfection. The power of the Qi explosion technique at the great perfection stage was terrifying. It could explode like thunder. During this period of time, he had sparred with Yang Shiryu a lot, so his combat skills had greatly improved. Jianglang just returned from Blue Spirit Star Palace. His progress is very fast, from the 5th level of the martial body realm to the 6th level of the martial body realm. Previously, there were many people who questioned the strength of Blue Spirit Star Palace, but now they all want to enter Blue Spirit Star Palace. It seems that Blue Spirit Star Palace has used Jianglang as a signboard to nurture. The effect is also very obvious. Yang Shiryu returned from outside and told Qin Yun the latest news. Jianglang had a legendary martial spirit and his spirit vein was not bad, so it was natural for him to be valued. However, no one had expected that Blue Spirit Star Palace would actually have the strength to allow Jianglang to break through to the 6th level of the martial body realm within a month. Qin Yun was currently at the stage of cultivating the soul scripture. Only by passing this stage would he be able to break through to the 6th level of the martial body realm. Therefore, he knew very well that stepping into the 6th level of the martial body realm was extremely difficult. Yang Shiyu patted Qin Yun on the shoulder and said with a chuckle, "Maintain your composure. Don't feel too much pressure. Xiaolang is also a very strong 6th level martial body, but he is not your match. Jianglang's strength lies in his sound wave martial spirit. Just pay attention to this. If I were to compete with him, I would need to be very careful of the power of the sound waves." Qin Yun nodded. The powerful sound waves could create a shock wave. Sound waves were also transmitted by vibration. He felt that his power of vibration should be able to resist the sound waves. In the Hualing Martial Arts Academy, the largest martial arts practice square was located in front of the Martial Arts Academy. It was extremely spacious, and it was bustling with noise and excitement early in the morning. Yang Shiyu and Qin Yun, both dressed in simple white clothes, arrived at the martial arts practice field together. Many students were here, preparing for the final exam. When they saw Qin Yun arrive, they whispered to each other and discussed in low voices. There will definitely be a martial arts competition in the final exam. Amongst the freshmen, Qin Yun and Jianglang are the strongest. The final battle will definitely be between them. Qin Yun is still at the 5th level of the martial body realm, right? Although he had defeated Xiaolang before, he had used a weapon and a large number of spirit talismans. These things are not allowed to be used in our Hua Ling Wu Academy's martial arts competition. If Qin Yun does not use weapons and talismans, he will definitely be crushed by the waves. The sound wave martial spirit is a legendary martial spirit, and it is also a very violent martial spirit. It is said that those who have fought with Jianglang have all died miserably. Jianglang has cultivated in Blue Spirit Star Palace before. He must have grasped a profound sound wave martial art and is even stronger. Once Jianglang defeated Qin Yun, he would be able to make the Blue Spirit Star Palace even more famous. Therefore, he would definitely put in a lot of effort into him. The freshmen gathered together and began the first round of the final exam. The first round of the exam was to test the strength of one's inner force. The rules were that the students who were taking the exam had to strike a special bee skin drum. On the surface of the bee skin drum, a special stone was placed. The stronger the inner force, the stronger the sound of the drum. The special stone on the surface of the bee skin drum would rise higher to determine the strength of the inner force. The vibration from your drumming needs to raise the stone to 100 meters in order to be considered qualified. If you enter the top 3, you will be rewarded with pills or crystal coins. Let's begin. An old man announced loudly. Qin Yun and the other students began to line up, waiting for the drum to be struck. There were always 3 rows of people, and Jianglang was in the other row. Boom! A student struck a huge drum, producing a dull sound. The stone on the drum immediately rose up and hovered in the air. On the old referee's shoulder, a parrot that could speak human language immediately flew up to measure it. The parrot was a spirit bird. Not only could it speak human language, it could also measure the exact height. After the parrot flew down, it shouted in a hoarse voice, 95 meters, 95 meters, unqualified, unqualified. The student's expression changed. He was extremely dejected and almost cried out loud. When the other students saw this, they were secretly worried. This was because they were the same as that student. They were only at the 4th level of the martial body realm and were extremely likely to fail. Amongst the freshmen, there were only a few who could step into the 5th level of the martial body realm. Boom! Boom! The sound of drums being struck rang out as batches of students tested the strength of their inner force. After testing more than a dozen of them, only half of them passed. Boom! A loud sound suddenly rang out. The special stone on the drum had risen to a height of over 100 meters. With a glance, he realized that the person was at the 5th level of the martial body realm. 800 meters, 800 meters, the parrot spirit bird said as it flew down from above. This caused many freshmen to be extremely envious. Many students at the 4th level of the martial body realm could barely cross 100 meters. From this, it could be seen that the strength of the inner force at the 5th level of the martial body realm was much stronger than that of the 4th level. "It's the river," a person suddenly shouted in shock. Chapter 85. The strongest freshman Jianglang was wearing a set of blue brocade clothes. It was somewhat similar to the clothes worn by the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace. He walked over with a face full of arrogance, and his entire body exuded a sense of pride. Among the freshmen, he was the one with the highest cultivation. Everyone felt that he had the right to be arrogant. Jianglang punched out with great force, fiercely smashing onto the huge drum. The deafening sound of the drum reverberated out. Those who stood close felt their chi and blood surge. Everyone's eardrums immediately buzzed as they looked at the sky. The stones on the surface of the drum were sent flying so high that they could no longer be seen clearly by human eyes. Only those with good eyesight could see this point. The parrot immediately flew up and came down after a while. 5,000 meters! 5,000 meters! The parrot shouted, seemingly also very astonished. All the students were stunned. Even the older students at the 5th level of the martial body realm were deeply shocked by the strength of this inner force. This is the power of the 6th level martial body realm. It said that someone at the 6th level of the martial body realm has tested it before. At most, it's only 3,000 to 4,000 meters. How terrifying! He's a monster. If a tier 6 demonic beast were to face him, I reckon that it would also be finished off in a single exchange. Looks like the sound wave martial spirit has brought Jianglang a great deal of power. While everyone was discussing in surprise, they suddenly heard someone shout, "Qin Yin is also going to take the test." Qin Yin was only at the 5th level of the martial body realm, but with the purple gold fire martial spirit, his inner force was definitely not weak. Therefore, everyone was looking forward to it, especially the older students at the 5th level of the martial body realm. This was because they could more directly see the difference between them. In the eyes of a 5th level martial body senior, Qin Yun was very strong. Especially his performance in the Hidden Dragon martial arts tournament. It could be said to have shaken the 3 great empires, and his name spread far and wide. Qin Yun walked over and circulated the inner strength of the purple gold fire martial spirit. He struck the gigantic drum with a loud sound. The stones on the surface of the drum also flew very high, but it could still be seen that they were not as high as the waves. The parrot flew up for a moment and shouted, 3,700 meters! Hua! The older students cried out in alarm. This height was not as high as Jianglang, but it surpassed all the older students at the 5th level of the martial body realm. It was even higher than some of the 6th level martial body cultivators in the past. Qin Yin was only at the 5th level of the martial body realm. His inner force was already so powerful. If he were to reach the 6th level of the martial body realm, he might even surpass Jianglang. Qin Yin did not use his vibrating inner force. Otherwise, he would have definitely surpassed Jianglang. If he used it here, it would be easily exposed. There were a few elders watching from the side. If I were to use my vibration inner force, it would not be weaker than Jianglang's. Qin Yin thought to himself. At this moment, he had a rough idea of Jianglang's strength. Jianglang looked at Qin Yin from afar, his eyes filled with viciousness. He possessed a legendary martial spirit and should have been the most dazzling freshman in the Hua Lingwu Academy. However, Qin Yin had always stolen the limelight. Now that he had stepped into the 6th level of the martial body realm, he had finally attracted the attention of others. However, he felt that it was still not enough. He had to destroy Qin Yin in order to hold his head high and reclaim the glory that belonged to him. The Empress, the West Palace of Blue Spirit Star Palace, the Sky Profound Martial School. All of them hoped that Jiang Lang could completely destroy Qin Yun. If he could do it, he would definitely receive a generous reward. At noon, the first round of assessment had already ended. Unexpectedly, half of the new students had failed. These students all went back in a daze, packing up their things and leaving. The students who passed would undergo the second round of assessment in the afternoon, which was a martial arts competition. In the first round of the inner force strength assessment, Jiang Lang sat firmly in first place and received 2 superior origin pills as a reward. Qin Yun was second and received an upper origin pill. The third was 20,000 crystal coins. Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu sat on a bench at the side of the plaza to rest. Yang Shiryu crossed her arms and looked at the distant Jiang Lang with a cold expression. She said coldly, "Qin Yun, Jiang Lang's character is extremely bad. He is the most vicious opponent you have ever met. I will be careful." Qin Yun nodded. He had long known of Jiang Lang's notoriety, and he was in cahoots with the Empress. He looked at Jiang Lang in the distance and discovered that there were 2 old men from Blue Spirit Star Palace. They should be from the West Palace. There are also a few people from the Jiang family. The Empress is here. Yang Shiryu looked in the direction of the plaza and whispered. The Empress wore a simple purple dress and only brought a few old officials with her. One of them was the Duke of Yan. This wasn't the Imperial Palace, and they had to restrain their authority here, so they didn't have that kind of extravagance. It looks like they're extremely confident in Jiang Lang. The last time Qin Feng sparred with me, this venomous woman did not come, Qin Yun said with a cold snort. In the future, when Qin Zhengfeng ascends to the throne and becomes the emperor, he will naturally need a talented martial arts genius like Jiang Lang to assist him. She's also trying to win over people's hearts, and at the same time, she wants to see if you will lose miserably to Jiang Lang. Yang Shiryu sneered. The Empress's expression was ice-cold, revealing an ice-cold arrogance. She looked at Qin Yun, unable to conceal the monstrous killing intent in her eyes. Her eyes flashed with a sinister light, filled with hatred. The second round of assessment began. They were split into 2 groups to compete. Qin Yun and Jiang Lang were not in the same group. They would compete on 2 separate arenas. This was a competition between freshmen. They had no hope of winning against Qin Yun and Jiang Lang. Fortunately, this round of assessment was only a comprehensive assessment. No matter who won or lost, they would not be kicked out of the martial courtyard. Everyone felt a lot more at ease. It was just that they were not fated to get such a generous reward. The difference was that those who competed with Qin Yun would at most suffer minor injuries and would even be able to receive pointers. As for the 2 who had competed with Jiang Lang in the beginning, they were both seriously injured. Later on, as long as the students went up on stage, they would immediately admit defeat. Otherwise, they would definitely be crippled by Jiang Lang. At this moment, everyone had a very good impression of Qin Yun. They felt that he had the demeanor of a martial arts master. As he competed with others, he gave pointers on their moves and pointed out their shortcomings. The students who had competed with Qin Yun were no longer afraid of the Empress's forces. They thanked him in person for his guidance. Compared to the vicious and ruthless Jiang Lang, it was clear who was superior. The Empress and the old officials gritted their teeth as they watched. When Jiang Lang heard everyone secretly praising Qin Yun, he wished that he could kill those people. After more than 6 hours of sparring, the final victors of the 2 groups were Qin Yun and Jiang Lang. They were about to engage in the final duel. When he went up on stage, Duan Qian and Principal Zhang came to persuade Qin Yun, hoping that he wouldn't go up. This was because they could tell that in order to raise their prestige, the Blue Spirit West Palace had spent a great deal of effort to nurture Jiang Lang within a short month. It was all for him to achieve complete victory in this assessment. As the most outstanding youth in the 3 empires, as long as it was a young martial artist, they would want to defeat him to raise their reputation. Even Jiang Lang, who possessed a legendary martial spirit, was the same. Chapter 86. The power of a legendary martial spirit in the evening. 9 beautiful suns stood side by side on the horizon, dyeing the sky red. It was as if they were watching the martial arts competition from afar. The great martial arts plaza of the Hualingwu Academy was filled with many people. Qin Yun and Jiang Lang walked onto the grand battling platform in the middle. The hourglass was still leaking sand, and the rest time was not over yet. However, their hearts were filled with fighting spirit. They were eager to start the martial arts competition. Qin Yun clearly remembered that when he first entered the Hualingwu Academy and awakened his martial spirit, Jiang Lang, who was in the classroom next door, had attracted everyone's attention because he had awakened his sound wave martial spirit. Jiang Lang was also considered to be the person who had awakened the strongest martial spirit in the history of the Hualingwu Academy. He was also regarded as the #1 genius among the freshmen. Now, he was finally going to have his first confrontation with Jiang Lang. Jiang Lang was dressed in a gorgeous blue outfit. He had his hands behind his back, and his face was filled with pride. The corner of his mouth curled into a disdainful sneer. He said loudly to Qin Yun, "You only have one spirit vein. You are destined to have no future. You must have been cultivating these past few days. You should have a deep understanding of where your bottleneck is and how slim it is for you to step into the 6th level of the martial body realm." When Jiang Lang saw that Qin Yun did not speak, he continued to sneer, "If you are a true genius, even if you only have one bloodline, you can still break through to the 6th level of the martial body realm. There are quite a few people who can step into the 6th level at the age of 15. Although your martial skills are impressive and you can craft talismans, you won't be able to go far." Everyone nodded their heads. This was indeed a hard round. Qin Yun had relied on a large amount of cultivation resources to raise his cultivation to the 5th level of the martial body realm. In the later stages of the semester, without any cultivation resources, he would stop at the 5th level of the martial body realm. Some students believed that if they had resources like Qin Yun's, they might be able to step into the 6th level of the martial body realm. An old man from Blue Spirit Star Palace laughed loudly and said, "That's right. No matter how impressive Qin Yun is in other aspects, he will only be able to shine in the early stages. In the future, a person with a single spirit vein has no future at all. This old man has lived for so many years, but I have never heard of a single spirit vein being able to cultivate to the 7th level of the martial body realm. Even 2 spirit veins cannot reach this stage." Everyone knew that the further one progressed in the martial Tao, the harder it would be to raise one's cultivation level. Therefore, in the later stages, the benefits of having more spiritual veins would be reflected. Qin Yun only watched indifferently. His emotions did not fluctuate, and he appeared extremely composed. Jiang Lang did not succeed in infuriating Qin Yun. He continued with a sneer. "Back then, Tianqin was right to abolish your position as crown prince because you are not worthy to be the crown prince. You are not worthy to be the future emperor. You don't even deserve to have the purple gold fire martial spirit. If you could transfer your martial spirit, you should have given it to His Highness the Crown Prince. Your spirit vein has already shone brightly on him." Qin Yun was slightly infuriated. He clenched his fists and said coldly, "Since you are so loyal to Qin Zhengfeng, you should give him your legendary martial spirit. That would be a true loyal dog. I really didn't expect that a person with a legendary martial spirit would actually be willing to be someone else's dog slave." Jiang Lang was infuriated by Qin Yun's words as he laughed angrily. "Qin Yun, you have Yang Shiyu's protection. That's why you can be so arrogant. Let me tell you, even if you can escape today, she won't be able to protect you in the future. After this semester, she will have to go to Blue Spirit Star Palace to nurture her relationship with her fiancé. You don't know, right? Her future husband is someone who stepped into the martial Tao realm at the age of 30. He can crush you to death with a single finger." Qin Yun frowned as he clenched his fists tightly. An inexplicable sense of melancholy and anger surged into his heart. His emotions were extremely complicated and his mind was in chaos. Jiang Lang laughed loudly. "Ha! The goddess of your dreams is destined to be someone else's wife. How sad. Xiao Yuelon was like this, and so was Yang Shiryu. Everyone could not help but sigh. This was fate. Everyone could tell that Qin Yun had a certain level of feelings for Yang Shiryu. Yang Shiryu's expression was ice cold. Her gaze was like a knife as she stared at the battling platform from afar. Jiang Lang, who was laughing sinisterly, released a wave of cold air that covered the entire martial arts practice field. Her killing intent, which was filled with anger, spread from 100 meters away to the battling platform, causing Jiang Lang's back to immediately break out in cold sweat. Jiang Lang had also restrained himself a lot. The effect he wanted had been achieved. The martial arts practice field was quiet and gloomy. One could clearly hear the faint sha-sha sound of the hourglass. The 9 suns made the sunset glow incomparably beautiful. In the sad and beautiful horizon, a lone eagle slowly flew past, appearing extremely lonely. The cold air in the martial arts practice field gradually disappeared. Yang Shiryu had left. She actually did not want to watch Qin Yun's match. Qin Yun had been staring at Jiang Lang with a calm expression. He could also sense Yang Shiryu's departure. Perhaps this departure meant that they would part ways. He sighed in his heart. He knew that if he wanted to help Yang Shiryu break free from the shackles of fate, he would need great strength. He suppressed all sorts of emotions and maintained his best mental state. Very disappointed, right? That's right. At this moment, you should understand that you are, after all, a mediocre person with a one-sun spirit vein. You are not worthy of Xiao Yuelon and Yang Shiryu, who are blessed by the heavens. Jiang Lang mocked. Just now, everyone could clearly see Qin Yun's soulless appearance. The Empress was also extremely satisfied. She nodded at the Jiang family's patriarch. Her face was full of smiles, and her eyes were filled with admiration as she looked at Jiang Lang. The hourglass had finished leaking, and Principal Zhang announced the start of the match. Jiang Lang did not move. Instead, he opened his mouth and roared. The sharp sound wave spread out in all directions like a wave. Many people immediately covered their ears as they felt extremely uncomfortable from the sound wave. Even though they were so far away from the battling platform, their internal organs were still trembling from the sound wave. It was extremely uncomfortable, let alone on the battling platform. Ha ha! Jiang Lang laughed maniacally. Waves of violent sound waves accompanied his laughter. The students at the 4th level of the martial body realm were all shaken by the sound wave to the point that their faces turned pale. Some of them had blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. Fortunately, they were protected by the teachers in time. Even the Empress and the others covered their ears and used their inner force to isolate the ear-piercing laughter. When everyone saw Qin Yun standing there motionlessly, they immediately felt extremely regretful. They believed that Qin Yun had been shaken by the sound waves to the point that he had lost his sense of hearing. That was why he was standing there motionlessly like an idiot. The students who had competed with Jiang Lang before were all unable to withstand the sound waves from the beginning. In the end, their brains were damaged by the sound waves, and they became fools. And now, the sound waves emitted by Jiang Lang's laughter were even stronger. Even the people around the martial stage could not withstand it, let alone Qin Yun, who was locked onto by the sound waves. Qin Yun's body trembled slightly, as if he was affected by the sound waves. I am the most outstanding new student of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. You can end it now. Jiang Lang moved as if he was flying as he charged forward. His complacent face was filled with viciousness, as if he wanted to tear Qin Yun apart. Suddenly, the muscles and bones in Qin Yun's body emitted an explosive sound. With a punch, flames splattered out from his entire body. With a loud boom, purplish-gold flames and purplish-gold lightning surged out from his trembling fist. Then, they intertwined together and turned into a lightning serpent. Crash! The lightning serpent howled as it shot towards the incoming Jiang Lang. In an instant, it struck and pierced through Jiang Lang's body. Jiang Lang, who was charging forward, stopped when he was 2 meters away from Qin Yun. Then, a tyrannical aura set off a scorching heat wave. It rippled out from the battling platform, causing one to feel suffocated. It was inner strength. No one was unfamiliar with the aura of inner strength, but this was something that could only be released by someone at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Jiang Lang did not expect this sudden attack and did not have the time to dodge. His body was pierced through. His eyes widened as he looked at the calm Qin Yun. Endless unwillingness and hatred surged in his heart. Bam! Jiang Lang fell onto the battling platform and fainted. The 9 suns set in the sky, and a cold wind blew over. The victorious Qin Yun looked at the spot where Yang Shiryu had been standing. He could not help but look dejected and desolate. Chapter 87. Tower of Punishment. Jiang Lang possessed a legendary martial spirit and was at the 6th level of the martial body realm. To think that he would be knocked down by a single strike. It could be said that he had been defeated to the point of being trampled on the ground. In the quiet martial arts practice field, the people from Blue Spirit Star Palace and the Jiang clan hurriedly rushed up to the battling platform. My inner Yuan and martial spirit have both dissipated. The Jiang family's patriarch's voice trembled as he sobbed. The faces of the people from Blue Spirit Star Palace were also ashen, filled with grief. Below the stage, the Empress looked at the calm Qin Yun and her heart trembled. An inexplicable fear assaulted her heart. Jiang Lang, whom she thought highly of, had actually been crippled by Qin Yun with a single strike. A Xian-level martial arts Qi explosion technique. Furthermore, it's at the great perfection stage. It can explode like lightning. Where did you learn it? An old man from Blue Spirit Star Palace glared at Qin Yun and roared. Qin Yun's Qi explosion technique was seen through, causing him to be secretly alarmed. However, he remained expressionless and said coldly, "No comment." He had just used the vibration martial spirit to release the vibration inner force, which flowed through the flesh and blood of his entire body. When the sound waves came, they were all shaken away by the vibration force, so they were unscathed. The power of vibration completely suppressed the sound waves of the river. "Do you know what you've done?" The Star Palace's old man said furiously. A student with a legendary martial spirit had his martial spirit and inner Yuan scattered. Qin Yun snorted and said, "In this kind of competition, life and death are unavoidable. Didn't Jiang Lang kill a few students before? Why don't I see any anger or regret? Moreover, Jiang Lang is still alive. Jiang Lang possesses a legendary martial spirit." The old man shouted with a trembling voice. If not for the fact that Principal Zhang was beside him, he would have definitely attacked Qin Yun. Qin Yun said with a sneer, "Survival of the fittest. Competition is just that cruel." Jiang Lang was an extremely vicious person. In the sparring matches, his attacks were vicious and merciless. He had never given anyone a chance. He always said that being weak is equal to death. Now, I'm just giving him a taste of his own medicine. But I'm not as vicious as him, so I gave him a chance to live. Even if Jiang Lang was alive, it would be more painful than death. He can't even defeat me, a trash with only one bloodline. What's the use of having a legendary martial spirit? You actually treat him like a treasure. How laughable. The people from Blue Spirit Star Palace and the Jiang family were infuriated. They were in great pain and had been ridiculed by Qin Yun. Everyone could tell that even though Qin Yun had defeated Jiang Lang with overwhelming strength, he was still looked down upon by the people from Blue Spirit Star Palace because he only had one bloodline. Principal Zhang hurriedly walked over and loudly announced, "The freshman's final exam is ended. Qin Yun is the winner. He has obtained 10 superior Yuan pills as a reward. He can stay in the Qi Gathering Courtyard for 2 months, and next semester's tuition will be waived." The rewards were very good, especially being able to stay in the Qi Gathering Courtyard. Inside the Qi Gathering Courtyard, there was a Qi Gathering Formation. It was the place where the teachers cultivated in seclusion. The principal was also inside. After Qin Yun received the 10 superior Yuan pills, an old man from Blue Spirit Star Palace shouted. He destroyed the only student in the Hua Lingwu Academy who has awakened a legendary martial spirit. He must be punished. All of you must be clear that most of the martial arts in the Hualing Wu Academy were provided by our patriarch Lan Shao. Quickly follow my instructions. A few elders wanted to grab Qin Yun, but were stopped by Principal Zhang. We must deal with him. Otherwise, we will close down the entire Hua Ling Wu Academy. The Star Palace elder's attitude was extremely unyielding. It seemed that he had the ability to do so. Suddenly, a faintly discernible voice sounded out from an unknown direction. The voice overlapped one another, and it was both real and fake, causing everyone to be shocked. The voice said, Qin Yun did not care about the severity of the matter and crippled a precious student with a legendary martial spirit. However, Jiang Lang's crimes are unforgivable. His actions are cruel and vicious, and he is addicted to killing. Just send Qin Yun into the Heaven Punisher Tower for 10 years to repent in the tower. Is it possible for me to punish him like this? Although the person who spoke did not show his face, everyone knew that he was the mysterious principal of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Qin Yonghe, the Heaven Punisher Tower was the tower that no one other than the principal could open. There was no spiritual energy inside. Being locked up for 10 years was equivalent to wasting 10 years of cultivation time. If you don't let him out within 10 years, we will accept it, the old man from Blue Spirit Star Palace said. He felt Qin Yonghe's aura and his tone soften a lot. The rules of the Heaven Punisher Tower were set up by Patriarch Lan Shao. If he can come out, he will be able to regain his freedom. Therefore, within 10 years, Qin Yun will be able to leave the Heaven Punisher Tower on his own. Qin Yonghe still did not show his face. He used his inner force to send a voice transmission from afar. With such a deep inner force, even the people from Blue Spirit Star Palace were secretly shocked. Qin Yun gritted his teeth. He was extremely unconvinced that he would be punished in such a manner. Qin Yun, I know you're not convinced, but this is all for the sake of the entire Hua Ling Wu Academy. Qin Yonghe, guarantee that after 10 years, when you walk out of the Heaven Punisher Tower, as long as I'm still alive, I will definitely compensate you for the losses you have suffered over the past 10 years. Qin Yonghe's words made the Empress and the others feel extremely uneasy. Qin Yonghe was mysterious and powerful. He would definitely do as he said. If Qin Yun came out 10 years later and received compensation, he would be able to rise up in a short period of time. With our Blue Spear Star Palace here, this area will definitely be turned upside down in 10 years. The old man from the Star Palace sneered disapprovingly. Qin Yun gritted his teeth. Principal Zhang was already behind him. He sighed softly and said, Qin Yun, I'll take you to the Heaven Punisher Tower. Just like that, everyone watched as Qin Yun was escorted away to the Heaven Punisher Tower. The Blue Spirit Star Palace, the Jiang family, the Empress, and the others were all worried and followed. They wanted to personally see Qin Yun locked up in the tower. The central area of the Hua Ling Wu Academy was surrounded by high walls and was heavily guarded. The Martial Arts Pavilion, the Heaven Punisher Tower, and the Qi Gathering Courtyard were all in this area. The Heaven Punisher Tower was not very far from the Martial Arts Pavilion. It was only 5 stories tall and had a green exterior. It was rusty and looked as if it was built from ancient bronze. The outside was covered in dust and cobwebs. It had not been opened for some time. The group followed behind Principal Zhang and Qin Yun and arrived at the entrance of the Heaven Punisher Tower. The door automatically opened, and it was pitch black inside. Gusts of cold wind accompanied by a rotten aura blew out, causing one's hair to stand on end. Qin Yun, if you have the ability to destroy this tower from the inside, you don't need to be locked up for 10 years. Qin Yonghe's voice sounded. It became much clearer, as if he was nearby. The old man from the Star Palace sneered. The Heaven Punisher Tower is a royal-grade spirit artifact refined by our Blue Spirit Star Palace. It is incomparably sturdy. How could it be so easily destroyed? Qin Yun secretly took a deep breath. He never expected that this tower would be a royal-grade spirit artifact. After a moment of shock, he asked, Dean Qin, if I can really come out, can you give me some compensation? After a moment of silence, Qin Yonghe said, Sure, but I'll decide what the compensation is. All right. Qin Yun strode into the tower, and the door slowly closed. Chapter 88. Acme of perfection. After Qin Yun entered the Heaven Punisher Tower, he condensed a ball of flame in his palm and illuminated his surroundings. It was empty except for a staircase. He walked up the stairs to the second floor and was shocked. On the second floor, there were a few pale, golden skeletons that looked to be of some age. He said in a low voice, "The seventh level of the martial body is called the golden body. To be able to cultivate pale, golden bones, these are all at the seventh level of the martial body. It's even possible that they are at the eighth or ninth level." Upon closer inspection, there were many broken parts on the bones. Such strong bones could even shatter. Could it be caused by crashing into the wall? Qin Yin was alarmed. There were actually people who had died in this tower, and they were all powerful people. When he arrived at the third floor, other than a few pale, golden human bones on the ground, there was nothing else. It was still empty. The fourth floor was slightly different. There were only two sets of human bones, and they were both sitting cross-legged on the ground. The second and third floors were all messy on the ground. As he stepped onto the stairs to the fifth floor, the flame on Qin Yun's palm suddenly extinguished, causing his body to tremble. At this moment, his surroundings were pitch black and extremely quiet. There was no sound at all. After a moment of shock, he continued to release flames. Just like before, the moment it was released, it was instantly extinguished. It was extremely strange. "Who is it?" Qin Yun was secretly alarmed as he shouted loudly. There was no one, only his echo. Qin Yun took out a green stone that emitted a faint light from the nine-yang divine spirit storage space. After producing a bit of light, he combined it with his mental power to investigate his surroundings. His vision also became extremely clear. He had finally arrived at the fifth floor. This was also the top floor. In the middle sat a man in a black robe. The wrinkles on his face were layered on top of each other. Under the weak green light, he looked slightly terrifying. "Old man," Qin Yun shouted softly. At the same time, he became vigilant. Those who were imprisoned in the Heaven Punisher Tower must have made a mistake and needed to be on guard. "Dead." Qin Yun walked over and checked carefully before sighing. If there was a living person, they would know what was going on here. 10 years? I definitely can't stay in this damn place for 10 years. I'll go crazy. Qin Yun found a place to sit down and carefully checked the storage space inside the nine-yang divine spirit. There's a lot of demonic beast meat inside. The snow lion that he had killed during his duel with Xiaolang was enough for him to eat for a long time. 10 superior elemental dawn. I wonder if I can cultivate the soul scripture. He took out the superior elemental dawn he won in the final exam. Condensing the soul scripture required a large amount of spiritual force. The superior Yuan Dan contains rich nine suns spiritual energy. It can be completely absorbed by the nine sun divine spirit and condensed into a large amount of mental power. He swallowed an upper elemental pill and began to cultivate with his eyes closed. This place was so quiet that it was a good environment for cultivation. Outside the Heaven Punisher Tower, Yang Shi looked up at the top of the tower and sighed. It might not be a bad thing for him to be able to endure 10 years inside. Principal Zhang, who was at the side, nodded slightly. The Empress's father, who is also the country's father-in-law, has already stepped into the martial Dao realm. The situation is set. Half a year later, if Qin Zhengfeng and Xiao Yuelan's engagement was successful, they would most likely hold their wedding quickly. The one to ascend the throne might be the Empress, or it might be the Crown Prince. The Empress and the others have a close relationship with the Blue Spirit Star Palace's Western Palace, Nangong Palace, and Northern Palace. They have quite a few resources in their hands and are able to move the three palaces. Right now, only the Eastern Palace is temporarily out of contact with them. Yang Shi let out a long sigh and said, "Their strength is increasing day by day. Even if I reach the 9th level martial body realm at such a young age, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape the shackles of fate." Principal Zhang said, Dean Sheen said that the Blue Spirit Star Palace did not descend here to pass down martial arts. Instead, they used this place as their last path of retreat. Because they were defeated in the martial desolate land, they retreated here to gather resources and recruit troops. Once their strength increases, they will make other plans. Yang Shiryu sneered. I knew it wouldn't be that simple. The Cloud Dragon Mountain Range is so rich in resources, they will definitely enslave the people here to help them open up the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range and search for resources. Principal Zhang nodded and sighed. That's right. In short, Qin Yun can avoid all sorts of disputes in this period of time. What are your plans for the future? Are you really going to marry the Crown Prince of the Tian Shao Empire? The Crown Prince of the Tian Shao Empire was also a mysterious figure. He was already in his 30s and rarely showed his face. It was said that he had already stepped into the martial Dao realm and was an extremely terrifying figure. I don't know. I'll enter the Blue Spirit Star Palace first and cultivate for a period of time. Yang Shiryu sighed faintly. Let's go. We'll come back in 10 years. Principal Zhang said. Although there were no windows in the Heaven Punisher Tower, Qin Yun, who was inside, could clearly hear the conversation between Principal Zhang and Yang Shiryu. The Crown Prince of Tian Shao. He has actually stepped into the martial Dao realm. The Tian Shao imperial family is indeed the strongest of the three empires. I can also step into the martial Dao realm. Teacher, wait for me. I will definitely help you. Qin Yun composed himself and continued his cultivation. He had the vibration martial spirit and the mysterious nine yang divine spirit. He could absorb the spiritual energy of the nine suns, and with his mysterious and unfathomable heart of martial arts, he had an extremely high comprehension of martial arts. That was why he was so confident. Of course, the most important thing right now was to leave the Heaven Punisher Tower as soon as possible. He couldn't wait 10 years, not even 10 months. About half a year later, it would be Qin Zhengfeng and Xiao Yuelan's grand engagement. He had to attend it. After a few days, Qin Yun had only refined 5 superior yuan pills. Although he did not cultivate the Heart Sutra, he realized that his comprehension of the Black Yang art had reached a deeper level. He had long since cultivated the Black Yang art to the great perfection stage, allowing him to circulate his inner yuan energy. This was a realm that very few people could reach. After a few days of meditation, he had a strange feeling when he circulated his inner yuan energy. It was as if he was about to reach the acme of perfection. The mastery of martial arts is divided into the basics: small success, large success, great perfection, and a legendary acme of perfection. I've already cultivated the Black Yang art to the great perfection stage. Is the next step the acme of perfection? Qin Yun was filled with anticipation as he focused his mind to comprehend the Black Yang art. He began to break through to the acme of perfection. Although the Black Yang art was only a high-grade martial art, it still had a stage of perfection. It was only at the conceptual stage. Even the person who created the Black Yang art might not be able to cultivate it to this stage. He focused on comprehending the last chapter of the Black Yang art as his inner yuan constantly breathed. The speed of his inner yuan breathing became faster and faster. It spun rapidly and breathed rapidly. It expanded and contracted at a rapid pace. In order to maintain this state, Qin Yun had no choice but to eat the remaining 5 superior yuan pills. In this state, he needed to absorb a large amount of spiritual energy. The Heaven Punisher Tower was isolated from the outside world, so it was impossible to absorb spiritual energy. In the past, it would take him a few days to refine 5 superior yuan pills. But now, in just over a day, he had finished refining the spiritual energy of 5 superior yuan pills. Chapter 89. Star Yang Heart Sutra. Qin Yun had 2 martial spirits, so he was able to cultivate 2 elemental energies. Within his purple gold fire elemental energy, there was also a black vibrating elemental energy. It was as if the core was at the center of the fire elemental energy. At this moment, a white mist was flowing on the surface of the black elemental energy. This was something that Qin Yun had just cultivated. What is this? Could it be a special kind of energy? He focused his mind to mobilize the white mist. Inconceivably, the white mist suddenly ran out of his elemental energy and entered his golden heart. Then, the white mist slowly danced out of his chest like a dancing white ribbon. It could become very, very long, more than 10 meters long. My perception of spiritual energy is becoming clearer and clearer. This white ribbon of light seems to be able to enhance one's perception of spiritual energy. Qin Yun was secretly overjoyed. Then, he tried to control the ribbon of light to penetrate the walls of the Heaven Punisher Tower. The moment the ribbon of light left, it was as if he had suddenly gone from a place with foul air to a mountain forest with fragrant air. He finally felt this long-lost spiritual energy. Even Qin Yun himself could not believe that after cultivating his inner force to perfection, he would have such a miraculous power. He looked at the white ribbon of light and was extremely excited. I remember that it was recorded in a book that when inner force is cultivated to perfection, it can allow one's inner force to give birth to mental power. Primordial spirit, for short. When one cultivates inner force to the acme of perfection, one will be able to form a primordial spirit and leave the inner force. Even though Yang Shi was so proficient in cultivation techniques, she had never cultivated it to the acme of perfection. Therefore, he did not know much about it. His primordial spirit easily penetrated the incomparably sturdy wall and crazily absorbed the 9 suns' spiritual energy from outside. Qin Yun's 2 elemental energies were frantically breathing as if they were bulls drinking, absorbing spiritual energy to refine. It wasn't until late at night that he woke up when the 9 suns' spiritual energy became thin. When the 9 suns descend the mountain, the spiritual energy will gradually become thin. Even if the primordial spirit roams out, it won't be able to absorb much spiritual energy. Just as he was about to retract his primordial spirit, he suddenly sensed a strange energy. What kind of energy is this? It seemed to be the 9 suns' spiritual energy, but it was different. It was late at night outside. Could it be the power of the moon? That's not right either. Teacher has the moon martial spirit, and the moon's spiritual energy is not like this. He shook his head and suddenly thought of another possibility. Astral spiritual energy. Night was when a large number of stars appeared and disappeared. Although there were stars in the daytime, they were all blocked by the sunlight, so it was impossible to see them, let alone sense the star's spirit chi. It's a cultivation technique created by Patriarch Lan Shao. Qin Yun suddenly recalled the obscure chant. Underworld star, yang observation, steady heart, spirit condensing star. Xingming can be understood as the stars meditating, while Yangguan is the sun watching. What is it looking at? Looking at the stars? Could it be that the starlight of the stars is also related to the sun? It was equivalent to another kind of spiritual energy. Steadfast heart means that the mind is firm, the spirit is condensed into a star, and the spirit is condensed into a star. He felt as if he was about to comprehend something, but he couldn't grasp the crux of it. Meditating to absorb the power of the 9 suns and condense the stars. You need to have a firm mind in order to condense the stars. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and used his primordial spirit to absorb the astral spiritual energy. 9 yang body refinement, star soul refinement. In the primal chaos universe, the star soul is illuminated by the 9 suns. It meditates on its own, cultivates its spirit, and condenses its heart into a star. The light of the stars is the pure spiritual energy refined from absorbing the 9 suns' spiritual energy. Directly absorbing the spiritual energy of the stars will allow one to refine their spirit. There's no need to use the 9 suns' spiritual energy anymore. After Qin Yun absorbed the astral spiritual energy through his primordial spirit, he was even more certain of his understanding. Yang body refinement, star spirit refinement, star yang complementing each other. Let's call it the Star Yang Sutra. Right now, I am cultivating the Star Spirit Refinement Technique, and the other one should be the Yang Body Refinement Technique. Qin Yin felt his mind constantly strengthening and was secretly delighted. The people from Blue Spirit Star Palace had really given him a supreme inner force cultivation technique. Qin Yin said with a smile, "Perhaps it's because it's been a long time. Back then, the way Marshal King Lan Shao recorded the cultivation technique was different from now. That's why it's more difficult to understand. It's also possible that it's not easy to cultivate an inner force cultivation technique to perfection. That's why the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace haven't been able to comprehend these two chants for many years." Actually, he couldn't completely understand it either. He could only roughly grasp the direction. This was exactly what the short chant was about. It was just to lead people through the door. The rest would have to depend on one's own performance, one's own comprehension, and one's own path of martial arts. In this way, everyone would be able to walk a different path of martial arts. That was why over the years, there would be a wealth of martial arts techniques. After a night of cultivation, his mental strength had increased by a lot. Condensing the soul scripture was just around the corner. During the day, he looked at the Star Yang Body Refinement chant of the Star Yang Sutra. It was a little longer than the Star Refinement Spirit. The 9 suns are different. The divine abilities are myriad. The sun god's soul flies, and the divine abilities enter the body. He was confused as he read it over and over again. It didn't seem to be as difficult to understand as Yilingxin's, but he had no direction. Until noon, he still didn't have any gains, so he could only give up. I might only be able to suddenly comprehend it at a certain time. Just like last night, I need an opportunity. After Qin Yin understood, he no longer bothered about it. He put it aside and let nature take its course. Now that he was able to comprehend the Star Refinement Spirit, it could be considered a great harvest. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yin had spent half a month in the Heaven Punisher Tower. Ever since he had comprehended the Star Refinement Spirit, he would release his primordial spirit every night to absorb the spiritual energy of the stars and use it to cultivate his mind. In the sky above the Heaven Punisher Tower, the stars shone like a sea, calm and beautiful. Inside the Heaven Punisher Tower, Qin Yin was unable to see the resplendent sea of stars, but he could clearly feel the endless and mysterious sea of stars through his primordial spirit. Every time he had this feeling, his mind would always fluctuate because of it. This was because he felt that in front of the sea of stars, he was as insignificant as a speck of dust, like a drop in the ocean. A sense of inferiority and powerlessness welled up in his heart, giving rise to an inexplicable sense of sorrow, causing people to have the thought of retreating. Every time this kind of emotion appeared, he would always be able to firm his heart and withstand this invisible blow, continuing to absorb the spiritual energy of the stars. Since he was young, he had experienced many kinds of tempering and had long since cultivated an incomparably firm heart. He firmly believed that through hard work, he could shake the will of heaven. The incantation mentioned firm heart. This was because the more he cultivated, the more he felt the terror of the sea of stars. It was all for the sake of resisting the grand aura that came from the eternal sea of stars. My heart is like a star. Qin Yin opened his eyes. His eyes flashed like 2 resplendent stars. He had finally cultivated the soul scripture. The soul scripture was like a sparkling river of stars, connecting with the golden heart and the tiny stars in his brain. Spirit into a star, I've succeeded. His surroundings were extremely dark, but under the envelopment of his powerful mind, even the tiny grains of sand were caught clearly. Chapter 90. Initial success of the Wang Hammerqin. Yun stayed in the Heaven Punisher Tower for half a month. There was still half a month before the start of the next semester. After cultivating the soul scripture, it could be said that he had improved by leaps and bounds. Right now, the most important thing was to leave the Heaven Punisher Tower. There's something strange about the stone slabs here. When he released his mental energy to envelop this floor, he discovered that the stone slabs on the ground were different. Then, he took out a glowing stone and illuminated the ground. He discovered that the stone slabs in the middle were different. They were specially made stone slabs. He examined it carefully for a moment and discovered that there was a square formation that was more than 5 meters wide. It was made of square stone slabs. Could it be that this kind of stone slab can be carved with spirit marks and form a spirit formation? The flames I released earlier might have been absorbed by these stone slabs. Qin Yun suddenly thought of a plan that could help him leave the Heaven Punisher Tower. He immediately ran down and picked up all the skeletons on every floor and threw them into the furnace. "I'm sorry. I will make good use of your corpses to break through this tower." Qin Yun looked at the bones in the furnace and muttered. Following that, he threw in a small piece of heavy spirit jade and all the demon beast bones. Qin Yun let his primordial spirit swim out and absorb a large amount of 9 suns' spiritual energy. He released a strong purple-gold flame and poured it into the furnace to burn the miscellaneous items. In the Divine Inscription Palace, he often did this, but he didn't melt that many things. It will take a long time to burn. I'll take this opportunity to set up the formation and infuse the purple-gold fire's inner force every once in a while to maintain the flame. He took out a carving knife and a large stack of paper. The stack of paper was copied down when he entered the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. The spirit inscriptions inside were the same as the 36 spirit inscriptions, so he also grasped the dark part. He wanted to use the stone slabs on the ground to set up the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. The flames I release here can be immediately absorbed by the stone slabs on the ground. This means that these stone slabs can be used to set up a formation. As long as it is set up, I can use the 9 suns' spiritual energy to activate the formation. After a few days of carving, Qin Yun successfully carved out the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. He could use his primordial spirit to travel outside the tower and draw in the 9 suns' spiritual energy into the array. The power of the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array was that it could absorb the 9 suns' spiritual energy and quickly refine it into pure energy. After the array was set up, the items in the furnace were almost done smelting. He took out the blueprint of the giant king spirit hammer and began hammering and forging according to the shape. The speed at which he hammered was extremely fast, and in an instant he hammered several times. In order to forge better materials, he even used the 6-style forging dragon, dang dang dang. Qin Yun's upper body was bare as he executed the first 4 moves of the 6-style forging dragon: Tremor Thunder, Roar, Flowing Light, and Landslide. It was for the sake of forging a giant king spirit hammer. In the past few days, he had been forging hard materials day and night. It was very difficult. Fortunately, his primordial spirit could travel outside and quickly absorb spiritual chi to replenish his spirit and body. He looked at the embryo that he had painstakingly produced and nodded in satisfaction. I have both alchemy marks and solid marks. With the current conditions, I can only temporarily refine an inferior grade spirit artifact, the giant king spirit hammer. His mental energy, which was cultivated through the astral spiritual energy, was incomparably strong. It was able to support him until he finished inscribing alchemy runes without getting tired. After he finished inscribing the alchemy runes, he let out a long sigh. It's time to inscribe solid marks. This is the first time I've inscribed 2 types of spirit marks on the same item. When inscribing the second type of spirit mark, one needed to use one's mental energy to find the most appropriate position. It would not conflict with the other spirit marks, and it would not interfere with the other spirit marks. One also needed to perfectly fuse the 2 spirit marks into one, which required an extremely strong mental energy to comb through. Fortunately, he had the blueprints, and it was written on them how to do it. Of course, the materials needed for the real giant king spirit hammer were not easy to obtain, and there were also several types of spirit marks to inscribe. Qin Yun's current condition was that he could only forge a low-grade spirit artifact, the giant king spirit hammer. It took him a few days and nights to carve 2 types of spirit marks on the black hammer. It could be said that it was very smooth. It was Qin Yun's first time refining it. The conditions were harsh, but he was still able to successfully refine it. It was not bad. It's almost time for school. Qin Yun held the low-grade giant king spirit hammer and danced around. He had added half a piece of heavy spirit jade. When the heavy spirit jade was heated, it would gradually become heavier. Therefore, after heating the giant king spirit hammer, it could also become heavier. Qin Yun used the strongest flame to heat it up to 5,000 kilograms. It's already very difficult to wield it with the strength of my physical body. Using inner chi is just barely enough. Only by using inner force can I easily wield it. Qin Yun was very satisfied with this. After resting, he carried out the final step of his plan. He came to the center of the 9-yang spirit convergence array and placed the giant king spirit hammer in the center. One side of the hammer was pressed against the ground, and the other side was facing the top of the tower. Qin Yun stood beside the 9-yang spirit convergence array and allowed his primordial spirit to swim out. He absorbed the 9 suns' spiritual energy from the outside and channeled it into the 9-yang spirit convergence array. Then, he used his mental energy to control it and poured the spiritual energy transformed by the 9-yang spirit convergence array into the giant king spirit hammer. The giant king spirit hammer absorbed a large amount of the 9 suns' spiritual energy and released it through the alchemy inscriptions. It produced a scorching purplish-gold-red light that shot straight to the top of the tower and continuously illuminated it. The alchemy inscriptions could increase the intensity of the flames by several times and release them at a higher temperature. The spiritual energy released by the 9-yang spirit convergence array was also equivalent to inner force. With such a steady flow into the giant king spirit hammer, the light emitted was extremely hot. Not enough. Qin Yun used his mental energy to sense the top of the tower and frowned. Then he took out all his crystal coins and purple coins and scattered them onto the 9-yang spirit convergence array. In total, it was equivalent to hundreds of thousands of crystal coins. Sure enough, the 9-yang spirit convergence array absorbed the spirit energy from the crystal coins at an extremely fast speed, turning it into spirit energy and pouring it into the giant king spirit hammer. The purplish gold laser suddenly became much thicker. I've put in a lot of effort. Qin Yun watched as the crystal coins disappeared bit by bit. His heart ached. If he could really get out, it would be worth it. After more than 10 hours, all the crystal coins had turned into white ash. At night, a hole the size of a wash basin appeared at the top of the heaven's punishment tower. Silver moonlight shone in through the hole, causing the pitch-black 5th floor to become much brighter. It's a success. Qin Yun was extremely excited. Then he stored the stone slab on the ground into his storage space. This was a small-scale 9-yang spirit convergence array. He rested for a few hours. After changing into clean white clothes, he jumped up and grabbed the edge of the hole with his hand. Then he controlled the bone scripture to shrink his bones and shrink his body. When Xiao Yuelon impersonated Xiao Yuemei, she had used this method to shrink her body size. Qin Yun had only tried it for the first time, and he had successfully made himself the size of a child. He had successfully drilled out of the hole. He stood at the top of the tower and couldn't help but laugh as he looked at the white light in the sky. The 9 suns were slowly rising, emitting a beautiful morning light. They awakened the living beings of the earth and brought endless vitality. Chapter 91. Evil Beast. When the guards at the door saw Qin Yun running over, they couldn't help but be stunned. By the time they reacted, he was already far away. Is that really Qin Yun? Isn't he locked up in the Heaven Punisher Tower? A middle-aged guard said in shock. It's Qin Yun. I'll quickly go and report, an old guard said and left in a hurry. More than a month ago, Qin Yun, who had been imprisoned in the Heaven Punisher Tower, had actually come out. The guards didn't know what was going on, but they knew that it was very important, so they quickly reported it. When Qin Yun came out of the Heaven Punisher Tower, he realized that the outside world had changed quite a bit, especially the atmosphere. After he came out, he went straight to the small residence in the bamboo forest. In the bamboo forest, the door was tightly shut. There was no one inside, and the yard was full of weeds. It was obvious that it had been empty for many days. Teacher has indeed left the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Qin Yun was extremely disappointed as he sighed to himself. He then hurried to Principal Zhang's residence, a red wooden building. In a 3-story wooden building beside the great martial arts practice grounds of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Principal Zhang was reading in a study in the wooden building. Suddenly, he saw the white-robed Qin Yun with a cheeky smile on his face. He was so shocked that he looked like he had seen a ghost. Qin Yun smiled and said, "Dean, I'm here to apply for admission. More than a month ago, I defeated Jiang Lang during the final exam. It seems that there was still a reward of 100,000 crystal coins that was not given to me." That day, Qin Yun had just received the reward of 10 superior yuan pills when he was interrupted by the people from Blue Spirit Star Palace. After President Zhang heard Qin Yun's voice, he confirmed that it was not an illusion. He asked in surprise, "How did you come out?" "I opened a hole at the top of the pagoda and used the bone shrinking technique to shrink my body. Then I escaped," Qin Yun said with smile. "Quickly register for me." The corner of Principal Zhang's eyebrows twitched. Everyone knew that the Heaven Punisher Tower was extremely sturdy. Even a 9th-level martial body cultivator would not be able to escape after being locked in, much less a 5th-level martial body youth. You always do things that go against common sense. Principal Zhang could only accept the fact and handle the enrollment procedures for Qin Yun for the new semester. Ever since the fellows from Blue Spirit Star Palace entered the Martial Arts Academy battlefield, the tuition fee has not increased. It's 100,000 crystal coins. Qin Yun frowned. In order to escape, he had spent all his crystal coins in the Heaven Punisher Tower. He curled his lips and said, "So expensive." Principal Zhang handed over a new student nameplate and said, "With the increase in tuition fees, resources will naturally increase as well." The competition of the new semester lasted for 10 days. It has been held for 8 days. Do you want to go? That's a competition organized by Blue Spirit Star Palace, and it's mainly about catching beasts. "Of course I have to go," Qin Yun said hurriedly. He felt regretful that he had missed so many days. To the west of the Hua Ling Wu Academy, there was a huge garden surrounded by high walls. Qin Yun followed President Zhang to the entrance of the garden. This garden had existed for many years and was very spacious inside. Now, it was used for competitions and trials. Principal Zhang said, "The Blue Spirit Star Palace has placed a large number of evil beasts inside. Their strength is equivalent to the 5th level of the martial body realm, or even stronger. They need a class to work together to take them down. But Class 9 only has you, so you need to hunt the beasts by yourself. The one who hunts the most beasts will have the best results and will be rewarded." Qin Yun looked impatient as he said with a smile, "Can I go in now? You must be careful of the evil beasts. There are only 2 days left, and you won't be able to kill many of them, so don't force yourself too much." After President Zhang opened the door, he wanted to warn him a few more times before Qin Yun rushed in and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the Hua Ling Wu Academy, or any other martial arts academy, if one wanted to obtain resources, they had to obtain the best results in such competitions or examinations. There are only 2 days left. I have to quickly find the evil beast and try my best to get some rewards. Don't let that 100,000 tuition fees go down the drain." Qin Yun thought to himself. Whoosh, whoosh. The sky was gloomy and gray clouds covered the sky. It began to rain heavily. The weather changed at a moment's notice. The forest in the trial garden became dark, cold, and full of mud. The heavy rain was so heavy that all traces of the evil beasts had been washed away. It would be even more difficult to track down the evil beasts. Qin Yun was focusing his mind to sense the weak aura of the evil beasts. Evil beasts were also a type of demonic beast. Due to the influence of resentment, they became even more ferocious and brutal. Their bodies and auras were different from normal demonic beasts and were very easy to distinguish. "Got it. Let's try the inner Yuan spirit travel." Qin Yun's heart stirred as he released his primordial spirit. The primordial spirit and the mind had a very close connection. Through the primordial spirit, one could release stronger mental energy, allowing one to have better control over mental energy. Suddenly, Qin Yun discovered something. He was secretly delighted as he thought to himself, "The primordial spirit is indeed powerful. It allows me to sense the evil beasts very clearly." The ruthless beast constantly released a vicious aura. This was a type of mental energy wave that was caught by Qin Yun's primordial spirit. Moments later, Qin Yun arrived beside a thicket. Suddenly, a gray wild boar with black gas leaking out of it charged out. "Beast!" Qin Yun roared as he quickly took out the giant king spirit hammer and struck out with the thunder tremor style at the pig's head. Furious thunder rumbled as the hammer pierced through the wild boar's head, emitting a fiery red flash. The wild boar howled and fell to the ground dead. "It's not very strong, is it?" Qin Yun looked at the dead wild boar and curled his lips. He kept it in his storage space and continued searching for the next evil beast. He could take down this kind of evil beast in one strike. If other students were to see this, they would definitely be shocked by such strength. One had to know that a few days ago, the students of 2 classes had joined forces but were still unable to take down this wild boar. Although the evil beasts were ferocious, they were not stupid at all. They would try their best to avoid more people and even avoid meeting people. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to catch them. However, through his primordial spirit, Qin Yun could easily sense the aura of the evil beast. When he approached, the evil beast would immediately jump out when it realized that there was only one person. Then, it would be knocked down by his hammer. 2 days had passed, and many people had gathered in front of the garden gate. There were teachers, ministers from the imperial city, and a few elders from Blue Spirit Star Palace. They were all here for Qin Yun. When the news of Qin Yun running out of the Heaven Punisher Tower spread, it shook the entire Tianqin Empire. Many people knew how terrifying the Heaven Punisher Tower was. It had locked up people at the 9th level martial body realm. Originally, he thought that Qin Yun would be locked up for 10 years or even die inside. But now, it had only been a month, and he had already run out. The scariest thing was that after confirming that the top of the Heaven Punisher Tower had indeed been burned out by someone from the inside with an extremely strong flame, Qin Yun possessed a purple gold fire martial spirit, and the flames he released were extremely terrifying. This was a matter that everyone knew, so they could only believe this fact. The students who entered the garden to hunt beasts came out one after another. Almost every class had students who were seriously injured. From this, it could be seen how powerful the evil beasts were. Qin Yun did not come out, but he had already begun to count the results of each class under the supervision of Principal Zhang. The teachers would lend their storage spirit artifacts to their own classes so that they could go in and store the evil beasts. Now, the class leaders of each class took out the corpses of the evil beasts from their storage spirit artifacts. Moments later, the count was completed. The one who killed the most was Class 8, with a total of 9 evil beasts. Not bad. The strength of the evil beasts is so strong. It's not easy for you to be able to kill one every day. A middle-aged teacher wearing a blue robe said, with a complacent smile as he patted the head of the 8th class leader. This class leader's name was Zhao. His appearance was somewhat similar to that of the blue-robed middle-aged man. It was obvious that they were father and son. Chapter 92. Heart-consolidating Pilla student from Class 8 said loudly, "This is all thanks to Class Monitor Zhao. He killed 8 of the evil beasts here." When Zhao heard this, his face was filled with pride. He smiled and said, "That's because everyone cooperated with me. Now that our class has obtained first place, the prize is a top-grade spirit pill, the heart-consolidating pill, and 100,000 crystal coins. I only want the heart-consolidating pill and 50,000 crystal coins. The rest is up to you to distribute." All the students present could tell that Zhao De was sending off beggars. 50,000 crystal coins were divided among a dozen or so people. When the dozen or so students of Class 8 heard this, they hurriedly smiled and thanked him. However, they were all very unhappy in their hearts. However, no one dared to say anything. Zhao De was already at the 5th level of the martial body realm at the age of 15. He was wearing the blue robe of Blue Spirit Star Palace. That was a symbol of his identity. His father, Zhao Guangwei, was still an outer sect disciple of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Although he was only at the 7th level martial body realm, even a teacher at the 8th level martial body realm would have to be respectful when he saw him. He was worried that he would offend Blue Spirit Star Palace. After 2 months of building up momentum, the Blue Spirit Star Palace that had suddenly descended on the Cloud Dragon Mountain range had already been viewed as a holy land of martial arts. As long as one came from there, no one would dare to provoke them. However, it was rumored that when Blue Spirit Star Palace descended, a disciple was crippled by Qin Yun on the spot. Therefore, many people who had been bullied by the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace secretly admired Qin Yun. You can give out your rewards now. Zhao De looked at Principal Zhang with a proud expression and shouted. Principal Zhang frowned slightly. As a student, Zhao De was actually so arrogant in front of him. In the past, no matter how monstrous a genius was, they would not dare to put on such an arrogant face. There's still one more class that hasn't been counted. Principal Zhang said coldly. There was also another class, which was naturally Class 9. There was only Qin Yun in Class 9. He had only entered 2 days ago. Everyone knew that Qin Yun was powerful, but in only 2 days, how many beasts could he kill? Are you talking about Qin Yun? He was probably eaten by the evil beasts. Zhao Guangwei sneered. This time, our Class 8 has won. Hurry up and take out the rewards. Principal Zhang was secretly infuriated. He also felt that it was impossible for Qin Yun to win, but he still held onto a sliver of hope. Just as he was about to hand out the prizes, a burst of hot air suddenly came over. Qin Yun used the flame cloud steps and flew out. Moreover, he was carrying the carcass of a huge black wolf on his shoulder. Not long after, he walked out of the gate of the garden. The moment Qin Yun came out, a ruthless glint flashed in the eyes of the old official from Tianqin and the old man from Blue Spirit Star Palace. When Zhao De saw Qin Yun, he said with a sneer, "Just one beast." That's right. How many could he kill in 2 days? He does have some strength to be able to kill an evil beast alone in 2 days. Zhao Guangwei also breathed a sigh of relief and urged President Zhang, hurry up and take out the reward. Principal Zhang was very unhappy with the father and son in front of him, but he had no choice but to take out those rewards. Just as he took out the rewards and was about to hand them over, wait. Qin Yun hastily shouted and placed the big black wolf on the ground. What? I killed 9 evil beasts, and you only killed 1. What are you yelling for? Zhao De shouted coldly. My storage spirit artifact can't hold that many. That's why I'm carrying it. Qin Yun smiled faintly. Everyone was slightly alarmed. Then they saw Qin Yun continuously take out the corpses of evil beasts from his storage space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, including the wolf he was carrying. There were a total of 10 beasts. The students were all quite frightened. They had all fought with evil beasts before and knew how terrifying they were. With so many of them working together, it would be difficult for them to kill one. As for Qin Yun, he had actually killed 10 of them by himself. I was just catching my breath. There's more. Qin Yun grinned and continued to take out the corpses of evil beasts from his storage space. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched him continue to take out the corpses of evil beasts. Their eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. There was actually more, and not just one. Moments later, the corpses Qin Yun took out were piled up into several piles. There were a total of 50 beasts. Zhao De's face was filled with disbelief. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. The teachers and elders could tell that most of the evil beasts had traces of being hit by a heavy hammer. During the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition, Qin Yun's terrifying hammer technique had left a deep impression on many people. The injuries on the beast's body were caused by that hammer technique. Everyone counted. The number of beasts Qin Yun had killed alone was actually more than the total number of beasts in the other classes combined. It was no wonder that the storage spirit artifact could not hold it. What was even more surprising was that Qin Yun's storage spirit artifact could hold more than 50 beasts. The space inside was not small either. This was a high-grade storage spirit artifact. In fact, Qin Yun himself did not expect that the storage space within the Nine Yang Divine Spirit would expand as his mental strength increased. It was extremely miraculous. After my careful observation, these beasts all have imprints left behind by the Blue Spirit Star Palace. I can confirm that Qin Yun killed them from inside. After recovering from his shock, Principal Zhang laughed heartily. Zhao Guangwei took a few deep breaths. He was very unconvinced as he questioned loudly. Qin Yun, how did you do it? Even I wouldn't be able to kill so many in 2 days. That's because you're too weak, Qin Yun said. What I mean is, how did you find the beasts so quickly? Zhao Guangwei asked with slight anger. Anyone could tell from the wounds on the beasts' bodies that they had been killed in 2 or 3 strikes. Some of them had even died in a single strike. They were all caused by Qin Yun's attacks. I'm alone, and my cultivation is only at the 5th level of the martial body realm. The beasts thought that I was alone, so they all came out to attack me, Qin Yun said with a laugh. Then one by one they died. Principal Zhang hurriedly handed the tranquil heart pill and 100,000 crystal coins to Qin Yun. He said with a smile, "This is the reward for obtaining first place in this round. It's best if you eat the tranquil heart pill after you cultivate the soul scripture. At the same time, you can consolidate the heart meridian and the soul meridian." Qin Yun nodded and thanked him repeatedly. Zhao gritted his teeth and glared at Qin Yun with a face full of resentment. The reward that was about to be in his hands had been snatched away just like that. The Tranquil Heart Pill was a rare top-grade spirit pill that was priceless. Even in Blue Spirit Star Palace, it was in short supply. It was no wonder that Zhao De and his son were so flustered and exasperated. It's not appropriate to give this Tranquil Heart Pill to Qin Yun, Zhao Guangwei suddenly shouted, because during the competition to hunt and kill the evil beasts, I did not expect Qin Yun to participate. Furthermore, the Tranquil Heart Pill was not of much use to him, but it was very useful to others. The Tranquil Heart Pill should be given to the second place, and then the other rewards will be given to the first place. In order for his son to obtain the rare Tranquil Heart Pill, Zhao Guangwei had gone all out. Teacher Zhao's words make sense, an old man from the Star Palace said. The others who opposed Qin Yun hurriedly echoed. Zhao Guangwei smiled smugly as he looked at Principal Zhang and continued, "Look, everyone thinks so. It can be seen that Qin Yun obtaining the Tranquil Heart Pill has made everyone unhappy." Before he could finish his sentence, he saw Qin Yun take out the Tranquil Heart Pill and swallow it. Chapter 93. Flying Bu Zhao Guangwei was so angry that his face was twitching. He had thought that he would try to fight for it, but now he had no chance at all. Everyone was shocked because for a high-level pill like the heart-strengthening pill, one would normally have to find a quiet place to eat it and slowly refine it. As for Qin Yun, he ate it like candy. This would have a significant impact on refining the medicinal power. There's still a second round of competition. Principal Zhang hurriedly said. Qin Yun felt the medicinal essence churning in his body. He felt somewhat uncomfortable as he said, "When do we begin? No matter what, it will take a while. Look, there are many injured students here." Zhao Guangwei could tell that Qin Yun was trying his best to suppress the medicinal power. He said with a sneer, "The second round will begin soon. The reward for the second round is much better than the heart consolidating pill. It's a profound rank high-grade martial technique." All the students were excited. Even Zhao De was excited. High-grade profound level martial arts were extremely precious. Even in Blue Spirit Star Palace, it was not easy to learn them. Qin Yun looked at President Zhang, only to see President Zhang nod. "You can start the second round now," Zhao Guangwei said. The heart consolidating pill was a supreme grade spirit pill, and its medicinal energy was extremely strong. If one did not refine it diligently, the medicinal energy would be wasted, and it might even harm one's body. Under such circumstances, if Qin Yun wanted to continue participating in the second round of the competition, he could only expel the medicinal essence. This was equivalent to wasting a heart-strengthening pill. Everyone felt their hearts ache for the heart-consolidating pill. It had actually been wasted by Qin Yun. Qin Yun wasn't too worried. He had cultivated the Black Yang art to the acme of perfection. The speed at which he refined the medicinal power was very fast. What's the second round? Qin Yun knew that there would be a second round, but he never expected it to start so soon. Let's compete in speed. Whoever runs from here to the entrance of the Hualing Wu Academy, the fastest will be able to obtain a high-grade profound rank martial art. The second and third place will be able to obtain a high-grade spirit rank martial art. Principal Zhang said, students who have stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm can participate. Prepare to begin. There were more than 200 students at the 5th level of the martial body realm. They were all prepared and ready to go. They were just waiting for Principal Zhang to shout begin. We teachers will wait at the entrance first. Zhao Guangwei's face was full of confidence, as if his son would definitely win. Before leaving, he even smiled at Zhao De. Zhao De looked at the frowning Qin Yun and said with a sneer, even if you don't suppress the medicinal strength, you are still not my match in this competition. Seeing Qin Yun standing there motionless, the participating students were secretly happy. They did not think that they could get first place, but they were more confident in second and third place. If Qin Yun were to participate, he would occupy one of the top 3 spots. Their chances of entering the top 3 would be even lower. Qin Yun sat down cross-legged and began refining the medicinal essence. He originally thought that he could suppress the medicinal essence of the heart-consolidating pill, but he had still underestimated the power of a top-grade spirit pill. He had no choice but to calm down and refine it. The second round of the speed competition begins now. Principal Zhang could only announce the start of the second round of the competition. From the entrance of the garden to the main gate of the Hualing Wu Academy, it was not a straight path. One needed to make many turns before they could reach the great martial art practice grounds and then rush straight to the main gate. Principal Zhang rose into the air, flying towards the gate. The students who were running on the ground looked at Principal Zhang with envy. If they could fly, they would definitely get first place. Quick, look at Zhao De. Why is he flying? A student suddenly shouted. Look at his boots. That's a flying spiritual tool. Damn it, he's actually using a spirit artifact. Who asked him to be from Blue Spirit Star Palace? I heard that his grandfather has quite a bit of status in Blue Spirit Star Palace. His father is a teacher, and his grandfather's status is not low. It's normal for him to get a pair of flying boots. Everyone looked at Zhao De, who was flying in the air with envy and jealousy. They felt very unhappy in their hearts. Zhao De was wearing a pair of glowing blue boots. Although he was flying in the air, his speed was far inferior to Principal Zhang's. Furthermore, he was swaying and unstable. It was obvious that this was his first time using it. At the starting point, Qin Yun was the only one there. Everyone was waiting at the entrance of the Hualing Wu Academy. So he's about to step into the 6th level of the martial body realm. No wonder he can't suppress it. I hope I can make it in time. At the same time that Qin Yun was pleasantly surprised, he felt extremely helpless. In this situation, it was impossible for him to participate in the speed competition. After being nourished by the mysterious medicinal power of the heart-consolidating pill, the 3 great meridians in his body rapidly consolidated and strengthened. They formed a connection with each other, as if they were about to fuse together. The medicinal power contained within the heart-consolidating pill was also the 9 yang energy. Because of the 9 yang divine spirit, he could absorb the most medicinal power. The first to transform and strengthen was the Heart Sutra. Because he had eaten the mysterious heart grass before, after cultivating the mysterious yellow Heart Sutra, the bone meridian and the meridians in his body had become extremely sturdy and widened by quite a bit. At this moment, the 3 great meridians were connected as one. under the impact of the boundless medicinal power of the heart-consolidating pill. They were once again greatly strengthened. The meridians in his body became even more tenacious. If this goes on, I might be able to cultivate the mysterious yellow bone. As the medicinal strength gradually weakened, Qin Yun heaved a long sigh and opened his eyes. With a thought, he condensed his inner yuan into inner strength. The inner strength passed through the widened and strengthened meridians and surged throughout his body. In an instant, it was incomparably smooth. Qin Yun could deeply feel the powerful force produced as his inner strength rushed through his body. He could not help but feel slightly excited as he sighed to himself. This is the feeling of releasing inner strength. This feeling was completely different from the inner strength condensed through the six-style forging dragon. The inner strength condensed by the six-style forging dragon was very violent and difficult to control. I've finally broken through to the 6th level martial body realm. Teacher, wait for me. I will definitely be able to step into the 9th level martial body realm before the age of 20. Qin Yun's eyes were as bright as stars as he was filled with incomparable confidence. He looked at Zhao De, who was on the verge of collapse in the distance, and sneered. He thought to himself, my 6th level martial body, the restricted fire cloud steps, can finally erupt. He circulated the fire cloud inner strength and sent it to his legs. It gushed out from his feet and was accompanied by a faint purplish gold flame. Whiz! His legs shook and a wave of air exploded out. With a powerful leap, in a few blinks of an eye, he had flown hundreds of meters into the air. Qin Yun took a step forward and flew through the air at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, he had traveled dozens of meters. In the speed competition, the fastest person was Zhao De, who was wearing flying boots. Just as he was about to reach the gate, someone suddenly shouted, "Look behind you!" Chapter 94. Qin Yonghezhao De was only 100 meters away from the door when he suddenly felt hot air coming from behind him. He immediately turned his head and saw Qin Yun running in the air. "Hurry up!" Zhao Guangwei anxiously shouted, startling Zhao De. While Zhao De was stunned, Qin Yun ran more than 200 meters and was very close to the door. Zhao De wobbled as he flew in the air. After flying for a few dozen meters, Qin Yun suddenly flew past him and passed through the gates of the Hualingwu Academy. He was the first to arrive. The corner of Zhao Guangwei's mouth twitched. Even if he really saw a ghost, it wouldn't give him such a headache. Great perfection of the flaming cloud steps, flaming cloud stomp. Principal Zhang's old eyes widened as he exclaimed. The teachers at the Hualingwu Academy were all very clear that the fire cloud steps was Qin Yonghe's movement technique. He could also cultivate it to the great perfection stage. However, Qin Yun, who was only in his teens, had cultivated the fire cloud steps to the great perfection stage. He stepped in the air as if he was flying. Zhao De also passed through the door. When he saw Qin Yun, who had arrived earlier than him, the anger in his heart could not be any greater. In the previous competition to hunt and kill evil beasts, Qin Yun had also snatched first place. This time, he thought that it was foolproof, but who knew that Qin Yun would snatch first place away again? The other students also blocked the door. They had previously seen Qin Yun running in the air. After arriving, they learned that Qin Yun had cultivated the fire cloud steps to the great perfection stage. Only then did they understand that he did not use flying boots like Zhao De. This time, Zhao De lost without saying a word. He had used the flying boots, so it was already hard to say anything. Now that he had been overtaken by someone else using Qigong, he had no face to say anything. He could only watch helplessly as Qin Yun went to collect a high-grade Xian rank martial art. This is the tsunami technique. It requires the use of inner strength to activate it. It can transform the inner strength into the power of vibration. If the inner strength is strong enough and is cultivated to the great perfection stage, it can create tsunamis in the sea. Principal Zhang took out a book and handed it to Qin Yun. Qin Yun took it and looked at it. He sighed inwardly. Without Yang Sure Yu's guidance, it would have been much more difficult for him to cultivate. However, this martial art was very suitable for him, especially when used in conjunction with the vibration internal force. Is there a third round? When will it start? There should be some sort of martial arts competition, right? Qin Yun put away the tsunami technique and asked. President Zhang said with a smile, "No, it's mainly because too many students died or were injured in last semester's martial arts competition, so there won't be any more martial arts competitions this semester. The competition for the new semester ends here." The students were secretly glad that there was no third round. If not, they would only be jealous that Qin Yun obtained the best. "Qin Yun, there's only one person in your class now. Teacher Yang is no longer teaching, so you can come to my class next." Zhao Guangwei's face was filled with a cunning and hypocritical smile. "I should have the right to choose my own class, right?" Qin Yun did not want to be Zhao Guangwei's student at all. They used to be, but not anymore. This was a new rule that had just come out this semester. "You must come to my class, or else scram out of the Hua Lingwu Academy." Zhao Guangwei hated Qin Yun very much, but now he wanted Qin Yun to go to his class. It was obvious that he had ill intentions. When Qin Yun saw that Principal Zhang did not say anything and his face was filled with helplessness, he knew that there was nothing he could do. "My father asked you to come to our class because he thinks highly of you." Zhao laughed sinisterly. "Don't worry, I will definitely take good care of you when the time comes. Qin Yun doesn't need to go to class 8. Suddenly, Qin Yonghe's voice sounded. The principal of the Hua Lingwu Academy had arrived. When Qin Yun came out of the Heaven Punisher Tower, Qin Yonghe found it inconceivable. He had personally gone to see the hole that had been made and was certain that Qin Yun had escaped by himself. "Dean Qin, even you probably can't make a decision, right? This rule is mainly to allow teachers to choose students that they like. This is all for the sake of the students. This is how our Blue Spirit Star Palace nurtures our disciples." Zhao Guangwei looked at the gray-robed elder who had suddenly flown over and said with a complacent smile. Qin Yonghe was an old man, but his hair was not completely white. It was half black and half white. There were only a few wrinkles on his face, but it was filled with vicissitudes of life. He had a small beard on his chin, and his deep and sharp eyes were filled with dignity as he looked at Qin Yun. Last time, Qin Yun had only heard Qin Yonghe's voice. This was the first time he had seen him in person. Qin Yun has already stepped into the 6th level of the martial body realm. There's no need for him to continue staying in the Hua Lingwu Academy. I will recommend him to the 3 Mysterious Academy. A smile suddenly appeared on Qin Yonghe's serious face. Qin Yun was at the 6th level of the martial body realm. When the people present heard this, they were no less surprised than Xiao Yuelon stepping into the 8th level of the martial body realm. One had to know that half a year ago, Qin Yun was only at the 4th level of the martial body realm. I don't believe it. Zhao Guangwei received a huge blow and refused to admit that it was true. In his heart, his son, Zhao De, was also very talented. He had 5 spiritual veins and was half a year older than Qin Yun. However, he was only at the 5th level of the martial body realm. He could not accept that Qin Yun, who was in the same vein, had broken through faster than his son. The 6th level of the martial body mainly cultivates inner strength. He can now freely release his inner strength. Only after Qin Yonghe saw Qin Yun did he confirm that it was true. I don't believe it. Use your inner strength to break through my defense. Zhao Guangwei did not believe it. He circulated his energy and released an earth shield in front of him. All right. Qin Yun took a few steps forward and arrived in front of the shield formed from earth and stone. He struck out with his inner strength, producing a ferocious flame as he punched the shield. Bang! The shield was shattered by the violent, flaming inner strength, but the power of the inner strength did not decrease at all. It turned into a ball of fire and charged at Zhao Guangwei. Zhao Guangwei never expected Qin Yun's flaming inner strength to be so terrifying. He thought that his earth shield would be able to block it. So when the flaming inner strength hit his body, it was too late to block it. Boom! The flaming inner strength exploded, exploding into a ball of purplish gold flames that burned Zhao Guangwei. Qin Yonghe hurriedly waved his hand and released a white mist that enveloped Zhao Guangwei's body, extinguishing the flames. Zhao Guangwei was severely injured. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and he was burned to a sorry state. He was a martial artist at the 7th level of the martial body realm, yet he could not withstand a single strike from Qin Yin. Many teachers were alarmed. When Qin Yin was at the 5th level of the martial body realm, his strength was already comparable to the powerful 6th level of the martial body realm. Now that he had stepped into the 6th level of the martial body realm, if he were to fight with all his might, he might be able to fight with the 7th level of the martial body realm. Dean, I remember you saying that if I can come out of the Heaven Punisher Tower, you will compensate me. Qin Yin said with a smile. Back then, many people heard it. You can't go back on your word. I'll do as I say. Come with me. Qin Yonghe smiled and then soared into the sky with his hands behind his back. Flames surged beneath his feet. It was the great perfection realm of the fire cloud steps, fiery cloud. Qin Yin also used the fire cloud steps to chase after him. He secretly looked forward to the compensation Qin Yonghe would give him. The people from Blue Spirit Star Palace and the Imperial Palace were filled with jealousy. This was because Qin Yun's strength had increased by a lot. Chapter 95. Immortal Graveyard Diagram. Qin Yin followed Qin Yonghe to a forbidden area at the back of the Hualing Wu Academy. This area was next to a large mountain in the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. There was a cave at the foot of one of the mountains. Qin Yonghe brought Qin Yin into the cave and arrived at a stone room filled with books. Dean, what are you going to give me? Qin Yin could not hold back his curiosity and asked. Qin Yonghe took out a very old square piece of bee skin, spread it out on the table, and said, Look, what does this look like? The snow-white animal skin seemed to have been around for a long time. It was more than a meter in size. Although the surface was old, it was very soft to the touch. When he squeezed it hard, he could feel its good toughness. This beast's skin came from a very powerful fey beast. The beast's skin has been specially refined. It's not simple at all. It's impervious to swords and spears, and impervious to fire and water. Qin Yin carefully sensed it and said in surprise. Qin Yonghe never expected Qin Yin to be able to see through so many things. He was slightly alarmed and asked, and then, there are traces of cutting. It should be from a large square piece of animal skin. Qin Yin looked at the incision carefully and said with a frown, Also, this bee skin is made from several pieces pressed together. There are traces of spirit inscriptions carved at the incision. What exactly is this? The grade of the beast's skin is very high. I can't use a carving knife to carve spirit runes on it. After Qin Yonghe exclaimed in surprise, he laughed. You are indeed a genius in the Tao of inscription refining. To tell you the truth, this is a fragment of a map. Map? What map? They actually used such expensive and rare materials to make it. The surface is snow-white and there are no traces of painting. They must have used special methods to hide it. Qin Yun's face was filled with astonishment. This map was definitely extraordinary. The map was carved with dark lines. I still can't decipher it. Qin Yonghe sighed. I had the map for more than 10 years. It was your father who gave it to me. My royal father gave it to you? Qin Yin was alarmed and hurriedly asked, What is your relationship with my royal father? Qin Yonghe faintly smiled and his eyes turned gentle and kind. He sighed and said, I'm your imperial father's grandfather and also your great-grandfather. How is this possible? Qin Yun's face was filled with shock and disbelief. He knew quite a bit about his ancestors. This was especially so for his great-grandfather, who was called Qin Xingqian. He was the youngest emperor to die, dying at the age of 37. Qin Yonghe said, I entered the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range to explore very early on and almost died. I was trapped for decades. Later on, I was saved by the old principal of the Hualing Wu Academy, who passed by and nurtured me as the new principal. At that time, I had already stepped into the martial Dao realm and was no longer reluctant to part with the imperial power. I cultivated here in peace and did not return to the palace, so I also changed my name. When your royal father was studying at the Hualingwu Academy, he recognized me. He also promised me not to announce it to the public. Qin Yonghe sighed. When he was trying to break through to the martial Dao realm, he suffered a serious injury because he went berserk. He was unable to heal himself, so he asked me for help. His injuries were mental trauma and mental confusion. He's much better now. No wonder he didn't take care of me. So he can't even protect himself. Qin Yun asked, "Where is father? Are you feeling better?" Qin Yonghe shook his head and said, "I'm in seclusion to heal my injuries. I'm not sure if I can recover. It's good that you can forgive him." Back then, the matter of you being crippled also caused him great pain and aggravated his injuries. Qin Yun nodded and looked at the beast skin. He said, "Great-grandfather, you want to give me this map fragment, right? This belongs to you to begin with. Your mother met your royal father because of this beast skin, but she also died because of it." When Qin Yonghe spoke of this matter, his face was filled with seriousness. Qin Yun was taken aback. This was actually related to the death of his mother. He looked at Qin Yonghe in astonishment, wanting to know what was going on. Qin Yonghe said slowly, "This map is called the Immortal Graveyard Diagram. When a meteorite fell beside a small mountain village, it was split into 4 pieces and fell. Your mother and 3 other women were washing clothes by the river, and they each obtained one. After the meteorite fell, it attracted the attention of the 3 empires. They immediately sent people to the small mountain village. It was at that time that your mother met your royal father and fell in love at first sight. At that time, your royal father was still the crown prince. He ignored the objections of many people and married your mother. Qin Yun also knew that his mother was a commoner woman. That was why she was hated by many of the concubines in the harem." Qin Yonghe continued, "The 2 women who obtained the other fragments of the Immortal Graveyard Diagram were also taken away by the crown princes of the Tianqi Empire and the Tianshao Empire, who are now the emperors of the 2 countries. Among them, the woman who went to the Tianqi Empire did not have a good life. She became a maid in the palace and died not long after giving birth to a child. As for the woman who went to the Tianshao Empire, her luck was not bad. She became a concubine, but the good times did not last long. She died a few years after giving birth, just like your mother." Qin Yun's thoughts immediately churned as he asked, "What about the other woman? It's your female grand preceptor." Qin Yonghe's words caused Qin Yun's body to tremble. "The grand preceptor, would she also be cursed and die?" Qin Yun asked with a trembling voice. Qin Yonghe shook his head and said, "That's not true. She's an anomaly. She wasn't cursed, but she seemed to have been affected. That's why that group of people took advantage of her and framed her to cultivate demonic arts." Qin Yun clenched his fists in excitement and said in a low voice, "Sure enough." Qin Yonghe patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "She'll be fine. After all, she has even avoided the curse. Right now, she should just be hiding and recuperating." "Great-grandfather, should I find the other 3 beast skins?" Qin Yun asked. Qin Yonghe said, "According to what I know, the woman who went to the Tianqi Empire became a maid, but because of her outstanding appearance, she had an affair with the emperor of Tianqi. Later on, she gave birth to a baby girl named Qi Malian. And the woman who went to the Tianshao Empire is the mother of Xiao Yuelon and Xiao Yuemei. Those 2 women were actually the mothers of Qi Malian and Xiao Yuelon." This shocked Qin Yun once again. He also understood why he was able to get engaged to Xiao Yuelon back then. It was because his mother and Xiao Yuelon's mother knew each other. Their relationship must be very good. Qin Yun thought of how he and their mothers had been dead for many years and could not help but sigh. "Do they know about this?" Qin Yonghe shook his head. "I'm not sure either, so you need to figure out yourself. Your relationship with Qi Malian is not bad. On the other hand," Xiao Yuelon sighed, "it might be difficult. Previously, when you crippled Xiaolang, Tianshao has already viewed you as a great enemy and has restricted you from entering the Tianshao Empire. Qin Yun put away the beast's skin with mixed emotions. The Hualing Wu Academy has already been secretly taken over by the Blue Spirit Star Palace. I'm more or less a figurehead. This is good too. Qin Yonghe caressed Qin Yun's head and said with a smile, "With a great-grandson like you, I can explore the Cloud Dragon Mountain range with ease." Great-grandfather, you're leaving? Qin Yun was extremely reluctant because this was the first time he felt family affection after so many years. Chapter 96. Yi Qingfeng Qin Yun had already grown up and was about to head to the Three Mysterious Academy. With his strength, he would definitely be able to stand out and successfully enter the Black-level Martial Arts Academy. Therefore, Qin Yonghe could safely explore the mysterious Cloud Dragon Mountain range. Great-grandfather, don't you have anything else to give me? Qin Yun scratched his head and giggled. He felt that Qin Yonghe must be filthy rich after being the dean for so many years. If it was earlier, that would be more like it. All the resources in my hands have been taken away by Blue Spirit Star Palace. Back then, the person who founded the Hua Ling Wu Academy came from the Blue Spirit Star Palace, so I can't say anything. Qin Yun, who was filled with joy, was immediately disappointed. When Qin Yonghe saw Qin Yun's expression, he chuckled and said, "Don't worry, I still have something for you. Take it." Qin Yun took it and took a look. It was 50 purple coins, which was equivalent to 50,000 crystal coins. He put away with a look of disdain. A mosquito's leg was also meat. It was better than nothing. His expression of disdain caused Qin Yonghe to scold him with a smile. "You are a future inscription master. Even I want to ask you for something. You shouldn't be lacking in martial arts. As for the inner force cultivation method, do you want the Qin Spear incantation? No need." Qin Yun had the Star Yang Heart Sutra. It was much better than the Qin Spirit Art. It allowed him to walk his own martial Tao. He was indeed not lacking in martial techniques. The tsunami technique that he had just obtained was a high-grade profound rank 1. Qin Yonghe took out a letter and said with a smile, "Take this letter and go to the Divine Inscription Palace to hand it over to Duan Qian. Let him arrange for you to go to the Three Mysterious Academy." The Divine Inscription Palace and the Xian-level Martial Arts Academy seemed to have a very close relationship. The Divine Inscription Palace would often help the Xian-level Martial Arts Academy do things. Qin Yun followed Qin Yonghe out of the cave and arrived at the top of the huge mountain. He looked at the 9 blazing suns in the sky. Qin Yonghe's face filled with yearning as he said indifferently, "The most mysterious thing is still the 9 suns." Back then, the old dean said that if one could pry into the secrets of the 9 suns, one would be able to obtain the power of the 9 suns. Of course, with my current strength, I don't even dare to think about it. Right now, we are at the edge of the 9 desolate land, where the spiritual energy and resources are very scarce. Because of the environment, we have to pass through the dangerous Cloud Dragon Mountain range and head to the martial desolate land. Great-grandfather, you have to be careful in the Cloud Dragon Mountain range. Qin Yun was extremely reluctant as he said softly, "I have enough strength. You don't have to worry about me. Let's meet again in the martial desolate land." "We will meet again." Qin Yonghe laughed boldly as he used the flame cloud steps in the air. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared into the distance. Qin Yun felt melancholic. After letting out a soft sigh, he composed himself and went to bid farewell to President Zhang, thanking him for taking care of him over the past few days. After that, he left the Hua Ling Wu Academy and headed for the Imperial City's Divine Inscription Palace. "Father Emperor, I hope to see you again," Qin Yun thought as he walked through the forest. He really hoped to see his father at Xiao Yuelon and Qin Zhengfeng's engagement ceremony in a few months. Qin Yun did not take the main road. He chose to take the path inside the forest for safety. However, after running in the forest for more than 2 hours, he suddenly sensed a weak fluctuation of mental energy. Ever since his mind had transformed into a star, he had been extremely sensitive to mental energy. "There's someone here, and they have a strong, killing intent towards me." When Qin Yun sensed it, He leaped up and broke through the dense foliage into the air. Then, he used the flame cloud steps. This person followed me out from the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Who could he be? His intuition told him that it was an extremely powerful person. He was at least at the 8th level martial body realm. Don't even think about running. Sure enough, a shout came from the forest, and a huge tornado suddenly appeared. A howling tornado appeared and rose into the air, causing dust to fill the sky. The world suddenly darkened. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A violent wind howled, as if hell had suddenly descended upon the mortal world. Many of the 100-meter-tall trees in the forest were uprooted. They were torn apart along with the sand. It was extremely terrifying. Qin Yun, who was in the air, resisted the terrifying suction force as he constantly took steps in the air. However, he was unable to escape. This guy is a wind and thunder martial spirit. It's too terrifying. In the instant that Qin Yun was alarmed, he was swept into the center of the tornado. He collided with many torn pieces of wood and was struck by bolts of violent lightning. His body was in extreme pain. Moments after he was swept into the tornado, he was captured by a purple-robed middle-aged man. "Brat, it's as easy as flipping my hand to capture you alive, huh?" The purple-robed middle-aged man laughed loudly as he grabbed Qin Yun's neck and poured violent lightning power into him. "It's you, the big brother of that bitch, the Empress." When Qin Yun saw the face, he immediately recognized it. This was a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level martial body. His name was Yi Qingfeng. "You only saw me when you were young, yet you still remember me. Ha! You dare to fight against our Yi family. You don't know the meaning of death." Yi Qingfeng laughed sinisterly as he increased his strength and channeled even more lightning inner force into Qin Yun's body. Qin Yun's body trembled violently as he screamed in pain. Just as Qin Yun was in despair, he suddenly sensed two extremely familiar weak auras. However, he could not figure out who they were. "Who is it?" Yi Qingfeng suddenly turned his head and saw a black shadow pouncing at him. It was a huge tiger covered in black scales, and its speed was as fast as lightning. When the black tiger pounced over, it bit at Yi Qingfeng's neck. Yi Qingfeng dodged extremely quickly, but a large piece of flesh was still bitten off his chest. A large piece of flesh was torn off his shoulders by a pair of sharp tiger claws. He was a powerful 9th level martial body cultivator, yet he was unable to block the attack of this demonic beast. This kind of ferocious beast was terrifying. Qin Yun landed on the ground and sat paralyzed. He was also stunned. He remembered that Ding Tianxuan had said that a truly powerful demonic beast could even destroy an empire. Steel Qilin Tiger, but has turned black. After Qin Yun recognized the friendly gaze of the steel tiger, he suddenly stood up and took out the low-grade giant king spirit hammer. He struck the fallen Yi Qingfeng with the falling star style. The vibration inner force and the flame inner force perfectly fused together. It was incomparably violent as it flowed smoothly into the king hammer. It stimulated the inner strength and pierced through Yi Qingfeng's chest. That stream of inner strength opened up a bloody hole in Yi Qingfeng's chest. Then it continued to pierce through the ground, creating a very deep well. When the half-dead Yi Qingfeng saw Qin Yun gently caressing the head of the steel tiger, great resentment and unwillingness rose up in his heart. He had stepped into the 9th level martial body realm in his middle age. It could be said that his talent was excellent. Now that the Blue Spirit Star Palace had descended, it was extremely likely that he would advance to the martial Dao realm in the next few years. But at this moment, he had actually fallen here. He could not help but hate his sister. Why did he provoke Qin Yun? Yi Qingfeng died. Suddenly, his eyes were filled with unwillingness. "You saved my life again." Qin Yun stroked the steel tiger that had its head lowered and sighed. Previously, he had only casually released the steel tiger, but because of this, he had been saved twice. "You must have advanced to rank 9 demonic beast." Qin Yun remembered that Yuan Yinying had left with the steel tiger back then. He immediately looked around and discovered a young girl wearing bee skin clothes floating over. She looked a little sloppy, but she was extremely beautiful. Chapter 97. Inscription Master Certification Yuan. Yinying had a refreshing smile on her face. Her hair was a little messy, and her clothes were very rough. However, she looked simple and natural with a hint of boldness and wildness. The Yuan Yinying in front of him was completely different from the one who was full of schemes and vanity. "You've changed again. I don't recognize you again," Qin Yun said with a smile. "The current you is countless times more beautiful than before. A beautiful heart is only beautiful." Yuan Yinying said with a light smile. "It's all thanks to Brother Yin waking me up and leading me onto the right path. Otherwise, I would just be a vulgar woman who is greedy for vanity." The current Yuan Yinying could tell that Qin Yun was not greedy for the so-called position of crown prince or emperor. That was because compared to powerful strength, it was insignificant. The dead Yi Qing Feng had such a high status and was also at the 9th level martial body realm. However, in the face of powerful strength, he could not withstand a single blow. No matter how much power you have, what's the use? In the end, in front of absolute power, he still had to die a miserable death. Qin Yun admired Yuan Yinying's radiant smile and said with a gratified smile, "I'm happy for you that you were able to struggle out of that quagmire." Guilt surfaced in Yuan Yinying's clear eyes as she sighed. "The reason I was able to pull myself together was because of you. However, when you were in a desperate situation, you didn't have anyone to help you. You relied on yourself. At that time, you needed encouragement the most and care the most. Yet, I treated you like that. I'm really sorry." Tears flickered in her clear and beautiful eyes. Her heart was filled with incomparable self-blame and heartache. She felt heartache for Qin Yun facing difficulties alone for so many years. "Let's not talk about the past anymore. Come, let's drink a few mouthfuls and forget about the unpleasantness of the past," Qin Yun said with a laugh as he took out 2 jugs of wine. Yuan Yinying grabbed a jug and drank it all in one gulp. Her face was slightly flushed as she smashed the wine jug on the ground. She said with a straightforward smile, "It's your turn." Qin Yun smiled and drank it all in one gulp. He also smashed the wine jug. Then, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Qin Yun looked at the steel tiger lying on the ground and asked, "Yinying, what's going on with the steel tiger? It actually broke through as well." Yuan Yinying nodded and said, "When I first saw it, I realized that I could communicate with it, so I taught it the cultivation method of humans. I didn't expect it to break through and become a rank 9 demonic beast. Maybe it's because of its martial spirit, so its appearance turned black." Turned black? Qin Yun recalled that his vibration martial spirit was also black. He could not help but suspect that the steel Qilin Tiger martial spirit was also black. After it broke through, it said that we had to meet you because we don't know when we'll be able to meet again in the future. Yuan Yinying gently stroked the fur of the steel tiger. "We'll wait for you in the forest for a few days." Qin Yun nodded and looked into the eyes of the steel tiger. He asked, "What do you plan to do next?" Yuan Yinying said, "We will pass through the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. It said can do it. Big Brother Yin, do you want to come with us?" After Qin Yun heard this, he indeed had a very strong desire, but he still had many important things to do. He shook his head and said, "I still have a lot of things to do. Since you guys are going, be careful on the road. This is for you." He handed his 2 lightning pattern wrist guards to Yuan Yinying. They were of great help. Furthermore, to him, it was very easy to refine, and he could even refine better ones. Yuan Yinying also gave him a large bag. Inside were the armor pieces of the steel tiger. There were more than 10 of them like this. As a Class 8 demonic beast armor, it was extremely precious. "Big Brother Yin, take care. We will definitely meet again." Yuan Yinying and Qin Yun hugged each other before mounting the steel tiger and running away. After experiencing what had happened before, she had completely grown up. She had become extremely strong and had also found her future goal. Qin Yun looked at the departing Yuan, yinning, and sighed with emotion. He was still happy in his heart. He burned Yi Qingfeng's corpse and used light inscriptions to heal his injuries as he ran. When he arrived at the entrance of the imperial city, it was already dark and his injuries were much better. This time, the Yi family lost a 9th-level martial body cultivator. Their losses can be considered heavy. Who told you to provoke me? Qin Yun looked at the entrance of the imperial city in the night and quickly walked in. Qin Yun once again came to the imperial city. Although he had grown up in this city, he was very unfamiliar with it. Stepping into the imperial city, he felt a little uneasy. Fortunately, he was going to the Divine Inscription Palace. Only by coming to the Divine Inscription Palace would he feel at ease. To him, this was a safer place than the Hua Lingwu Academy. In the suite of the Divine Inscription Palace, Duan Qian hurriedly rushed over when he learned that Qin Yun had arrived. When Qin Yun saw Duan Qian, he hurriedly stood up to greet him. Then, he handed him a letter. With a single glance, Duan Qian guessed that Qin Yun's recommendation to the Three Mysterious Academy meant that he had a cultivation at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Although he was well aware of Qin Yun's talent, he never expected him to break through so quickly. When you left the last time, I knew that sooner or later, you would bring this thing to me. I just didn't expect it to be so fast. Duan Qian opened the letter and looked at it before nodding with a smile. Qin Yun smiled mischievously. Grandpa Duan, I'm not only here to go to the Three Mysterious Academy. There's another important matter. Duan Qian was extremely curious. After some thought, he asked, What important matter? Qin Yun took out the giant king spirit hammer and gently waved it a few times. He said with a complacent smile, Elementary Inscription Master Examination. Duan Qian looked at the hammer and widened his eyes. After a moment of surprise, he smiled with emotion. He could tell at a glance that it was the giant king spirit hammer. Although it wasn't a royal-grade spirit artifact, it was still very powerful to be able to refine a low-grade spirit artifact, the giant king spirit hammer. Did you really refine this? Duan Qian was a weapon refiner and had seen the blueprints of the giant king spirit hammer before. He knew very well how difficult it was to refine the giant king spirit hammer. Even if it was a low-grade spirit artifact, it was not something a rookie like Qin Yun could refine. The materials I used aren't too good. After all, this is my first time refining it. I'll use it for now. Qin Yun handed the hammer to Duan Qian. Duan Qian took it and frowned. He looked at it seriously, and from time to time, he would infuse his inner force into it to investigate. Sometimes he would shake his head, sometimes he would nod. After looking at it for a moment, he slowly said, The forging process of the materials is very outstanding. The materials are indeed not good enough, but they can be considered outstanding among low-grade spirit artifacts. If you want to find fault, you can only say that the spirit inscriptions are not natural enough. This is also because you lack experience, but it's still better than many old artificers. When can we start the assessment? After Qin Yun became a beginner talisman master, he would be able to freely enter and exit the Divine Inscription Palace. He would be able to enjoy a luxurious suite for free and would also be able to buy materials at a discount. If he became a true beginner-level inscription master, the conditions would definitely be better. The Divine Inscription Palace was spread across many places, so it would be very convenient. Duan Qian said, An inscription master needs to be able to create spirit artifacts, craft talismans, and set up formations. I'm not sure about your ability in setting up formations, so the assessment is only to test you on setting up formations. In the Heaven Punisher Tower, Qin Yun had relied on the 9-yang spirit convergence array to escape. This was not a problem for him. He said confidently, All right, I'll start setting up a formation right now. Duan Qian took out a square piece of bee skin that was more than a meter wide from his storage spirit artifact and said, You can carve any array formation on it. The bee skin array was one of the most convenient array formations to store. Qin Yun squatted down, took out his carving knife, and began inscribing spirit inscriptions. He wanted to inscribe the simplest water-gathering array. The function of the water-gathering array was to place the bucket in the middle of the array and then activate the array. It would gather the 9 suns, spiritual energy, and condense spirit water into the wooden bucket. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.